How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the LNSL Pro Wrestling Podcast. My name is Zachary Weinberger, here with JP Acosta. First of all, JP, how's it going?
I'm doing great, man. It feels like we haven't done a week in wrestling for a good little minute, but it's good to be back, man. Even though we haven't even missed anything, it feels good to get back to just talk about wrestling from the past week.
And like JP said, this is going to be our weekly weekend wrestling episode. We haven't done it the past few weeks. Our last episodes we talked about NXT Takeover, Stand and Deliver, WrestleMania 37. Check those out if you haven't. We kind of go into which are our favorite matches of the weekend and stuff like that. But we're back here weekend wrestling, so let's just get right into it. Before we do that, again, this is going to be a weekly thing. We're going to be doing other episodes of some sorts, dream match episodes, tier list, but obviously, finals is kind of here, right? For college, and so just be patient. But obviously throughout the summer we're gonna do more of those.
Long-term booking. You got to think
There you go.
long.
Yeah, but even though wrestling fans ask for it, they really don't know what that means. We know the IWC, right? But let's get into it. And speaking of not great shows, right?
Oh boy.
It's always this is always our weekend wrestling episodes. It starts off a little bad, and then at the end it gets a greater hype because we always got to start talking about Monday Night Raw. And let's just talk about it. So obviously, WrestleMania Backlash almost here. We have our title match. Drew McIntyre is getting a rematch against Bobby Lashley after he lost at WrestleMania. But let's talk about the different matches that happened in here. We don't have to go too in deep into the matches unless it's really needed to say so. But one of the opening matches was actually the returning Viking Raiders versus Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. And this is our first episode we're talking about the Viking Raiders since they returned. And JP, I mean, listen, I think we're about to say the same thing. It breathes a lot of life into a much needed, stronger Raw tag team division. How excited for you to see the Viking Raiders back in action?
Dude, I'm excited. I've been talking about them since they went out, with the lack of tag teams in the tag division. I'm like, who would really step up in this? The Viking Raiders. They're one of the best tag teams. They were one of the best tag teams in the world before Ivar got injured. I'm glad to see him back. Glad to see him healthy. But it's really good to see them back in a tag division that really, really needs it.
Absolutely. And I agree. And listen, they put on some good work here against Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, which their gear looks kind of like the same from the Hurt Business, except I know in Cedric's pants it has the Hurt Business crossed out or something. But I'm kind of worried of where they're gonna go, because I feel like before the Hurt Business they were really just kind of being jobbers, or Cedric Alexander doing some 205 live stuff, and afterwards they're a tag team, not bad, but I just don't know where they're gonna go next here. Do you see where they might go, or do you think it's just one of those tag teams where it's just yeah, they're there, I guess?
SmackDown. I mean, that's really the one thing I can say. But then, if you take them off of Raw, you don't have that many tag teams. But I think they got to go SmackDown because they've literally faced everybody except for AJ Styles and Omos. And I don't know if we want to see that.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. But again, with this match, though, I mean, we didn't see the Viking Raiders kind of job them out. They just controlled the whole match. It was a good back and forth match. And again, Cedric Alexander and Shelton, they do still have that chemistry. But, the Viking Raiders need to get these wins as they're coming back here. It's good to see Ivar. Good to see Eric back in action. Because really, Eric was just kind of Raw Underground and 24/7 division maybe. And that's kind of it.
Yeah, so, but, it kind of sucks because they had them face Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin 2 weeks in a row. It's kind of okay, we just saw this. I think it was one of the opening matches on the previous week's Monday Night Raw, and then we saw it again, kind of the same formula with the same result. It's kind of okay, can we get something new going here? Can we at least do something different? And I know it's asking a lot for a tag division that really is an afterthought when it comes to WWE main roster in general, but it would help to kind of spice things up a bit, just to have them face different teams other than the Hurt Business.
Completely agree. But going up, besides speaking of the Hurt Business, we had Drew McIntyre kind of come out and ask some questions about MVP and T-Bar and Mace. Last week's Raw, it ended with T-Bar and Mace attacking Drew McIntyre with much to the delight of MVP. So he was asking questions. Are T-Bar and Mace in the Hurt Business? We don't know, obviously. And Drew McIntyre was asking questions. They attacked him again, and he went to Adam Pearce asking for a handicap match, which was made, except that, and people were like, who's gonna be the partner? Is it a returning Keith Lee? Is it whatever? Just the surprise. But again, we get our good pal Braun Strowman. The guy that doesn't like being called stupid. Which we'll talk about that match a little later. But let's move on here as we get to Randy Orton doing a backstage interview. And who was he interrupted by? It was Riddle. And Matt Riddle, he was kind of shooting ideas at Randy Orton, saying like, we can have our own tag team. It could be RK Bro. I got to be honest. I popped when he said that. It was pretty funny. This is one of the few, and I think we were talking about this on Twitter. This is one of the few times where Matt Riddle did a segment like this, and it was actually pretty good. I thought it was funny. I got to be honest. Yeah. And then I started thinking, oh my God, are we about to see an Orton and Riddle match? Because I'm all for that. Eventually we did. Randy Orton went to Adam Pearce and complained, saying, yeah, that blonde guy with no shoes, that goofball. Yeah, I want to teach him some respect because obviously he doesn't know who he is. They made the match. The match happens. And I got to be honest. I mean, I'm forgetting the rest of the matches as I'm looking on here, but this was definitely match of the night for me. I wouldn't say it was the best TV match this week, but definitely a good one. And hey, Matt Riddle gets put over here. He gets a roll-up win at the end there. A really good match throughout of it. JP, thoughts on the match? Thoughts on Riddle winning? Were you shocked? Were you expecting it?
I honestly like the whole concept of making this match. I'm known to be I don't really like Matt Riddle promos because they don't make that much sense to me. But this one was really funny. I laughed because it had the contrast between like the fun-loving Matt Riddle and Randy Orton. I think those two contrasts, you have to have somebody who's not as fun-loving with Matt Riddle at the same time to kind of balance it out when he does that kind of crazy stuff like that. But I thought the match itself was really good. I'm going back to a cage match right now, see how long it went. But I thought it was really great. I think it probably was match of the night. It went 13 minutes, which was easily the longest match of the night. And I honestly wasn't surprised that Matt Riddle won. I remember saying after WrestleMania 37, he's going to be a main contender for the WWE Championship. It just feels like they see him in that sort of vein. I think he can put on those high caliber matches. And I wouldn't mind seeing a Matt Riddle, Randy Orton pay-per-view match. I'm not saying like main event. I'm saying like it'd be a pretty good, pretty fun little match between those two that I'd want to see more of. So it served its purpose. Riddle went over. Randy Orton really doesn't get affected by a loss like this. So I thought everybody won.
I completely agree. And again, I thought it was honestly one of the few bright spots of Raw, because again, we were talking about Raw. I mean, just look at our past weekend wrestling episodes. Raw hasn't been that great. I think we could say that pretty lightly. But this is one of the few bright spots. And again, when they want to put on some good wrestling matches, they could. This was one of them for sure. Again, we'll probably see a future one. Again, because like to me, Randy Orton, we don't, because he said in his backstage interview, like the Fiend is no more. The Fiend, is not going to be here unless I'm here. So I don't know if they're going to continue that. Again, I just don't see how you leave that feud off with that result at Mania. We talked a lot about that. Check our WrestleMania episode. I still hate it. By the way, I'm still angry at that. But we move on. So that's what happened here. And again, if we get a WrestleMania Backlash. Oh my God, I still hate that name.
I'm just gonna call it Backlash. I'm just gonna call it Backlash. It does. I don't care what they call it. I'm just gonna say Backlash.
I'm gonna call it its full name just so I can keep showing the viewers and the listeners how stupid it is saying all those words at the same time. So at WrestleMania Backlash, we'll probably see them fight again. I won't mind it unless we see it on Monday. Probably we'll see it Monday. They like to have the same matches week in and week out. We'll talk about it a little later. Moving on. We get Lana and Naomi versus Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, a whole new match. I've never seen this match before. We have. But no Reginald. Spoiler: original is on SmackDown. We thought we maybe escaped him. I don't hate Reginald. Come on. I mean, it's a match. Every time there is a women's tag team match on Raw, it's always terrible, and that is in no fault for the competitors. No fault whatsoever. They always have this thing where they either overbook it, it ends quickly. It's just who I feel bad for, really. It's just Shayna Baszler. This Shayna Baszler should be in the main title picture. And again, I understand that right now it's like Asuka, Rhea Ripley, and Charlotte, which we'll get to in a little bit. But man, I really hope this ends soon. But like again, the negatives, like you said, JP, I think it was like last week or a couple weeks ago. If you separate Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, who are the real formidable opponents in the tag team division? You don't know. But the way the match ended, again, it wasn't great. They were kind of going back and forth. Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler. Jax ignored a tag from Baszler, went after Rosenbrook, who came out later because again they showed the clips of Nia Jax slipping. Like oh god. Naomi got the tag in. She hit a double face buster with Lana for the win. So I mean, they come out on top there. But again, it just it's just not exciting television, for this. So let me ask you a question, JP. Did you enjoy this?
Oh God, I don't even know why you'd ask that, man. I didn't, and honestly, the in-ring stuff wasn't bad. I thought Lana and Naomi have improved a lot as a tag team. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax can actually work together really well as a tag team, in my opinion. But what happened with this is kind of what I feel like the biggest problem with Raw is. There are too many cooks. There's too many people trying to book these segments and write these segments together. So you have everybody coming out at random times. You got Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke playing a video of Nia Jax slipping or something, and then Nia Jax walks off. And I'm just confused because that doesn't make any sense at all. Why you just walk off like that? It really just feels like they rushed this together. Like they're saying like, okay, we have to have a women's tag segment on here because the women's tag champions are on Raw. So it's like, okay, give them a tag match. And it feels like we've seen Lana and Naomi versus Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax at least 200 times since like the new year, which is crazy because Naomi came back at the Royal Rumble. And so it's just frustrating because they can do a lot more and a lot better with these women's tag division, with the women's tag division in general. But it just feels like an afterthought.
It really does. Again, there's no excitement there for me when it comes to women's tag team division. Except again, maybe it's just Raw because I do feel I don't hate what the women's tag team division is on SmackDown, but on Raw, it's just it seemed like it's very lazily booked. I mean, Raw as a whole is lazily booked, but it's just not good stuff, And every time I hear Nia Jax's music come on Monday Night Raw, I'm like, okay, I don't want to hate it, but I know I'm about to hate what's about to happen. And not because of Nia Jax. I don't even think, again, me not blaming Nia Jax on a segment is saying something Raw. Okay, so what are you gonna say?
It's not like it's not like saying we're saying like Nia Jax music hits. It's like, oh no, here she comes. It's more like, oh no, something messed up is about to happen. Like it's like something is about to not make any sense involving this segment. And that's the thing. Nothing makes sense, and it's not and that's not an indictment of the wrestlers themselves because they're doing the best they can with this. It's more the writers. Like, you need some better writers. Like, I don't want to sound like a backseat driver or anything, but the writing and the creative has not been good.
And then that's the thing. We're going to be talking about NXT next, and then obviously SmackDown to end off the show. And again, we always kind of talk about how it's amazing how pretty much NXT each week and week out puts on a really good show. SmackDown puts on a lot of good shows. It's amazing how Raw is on the same brand. It's on the same company. It's really unbelievable. I think that there should be. I mean, they're cleaning house within WWE, obviously with Mark Carrano and other people like that. I'm just hoping that maybe gotta change things up with Raw. The ratings aren't that great. Again, you're hitting 1 million, 2 million, but still it's not that great. So But moving on to the next match, we'll talk about Raw in a little bit. It's Elias versus Kofi Kingston. And what happened to this match, Elias, Jax, Riker, they're out. They want to do another performance. It gets interrupted again by the New Day. Next time it was Xavier Woods. He was playing bass instead of a trombone this time. So a different instrument this time around. The match starts. Elias takes Kofi Kingston with a running knee as soon as the bell rings for a quick 2 count. He stayed on Kofi Kingston, ground him with strikes, which distracted him with some bass notes so Kingston could take control. Elias dropped him across the top rope to stop him in his tracks. Kingston recovers. It's a flying crossbody. Kingston tries to go for an SOS. They kind of botch it a little bit, but they kind of get back in there. Elias counters it with a hurricanrana and a flying elbow drop to win pretty cleanly. And I got to be honest, surprised. I mean, I didn't think he was going to win cleanly. JP, thoughts on the match there? Again, surprised by the results?
I was surprised that Elias won. I thought the match itself was, I'm not saying it was a match, you know. Yeah. I think they're definitely building towards New Day versus Elias and Jackson Riker, which for me is kind of like, all right, man.
Oh my God, just hearing that.
I know. It's just like, all right, man.
It's crazy. Yeah, keep going.
It's like, all right, man. I guess. Xavier Woods playing Stone Cold Steve Austin's theme song on the bass was hilarious. I think that was the best part of the match for me. I really don't blame them for kind of messing up the SOS a little bit, because the SOS is a really complicated move to like get all the way through real smooth. Actually, like every time Kofi does it, I'm like, dang, that looks really smooth for the move that it looks like, because he got to put his head behind his arm and then flip over as he's flipping the other dude over. It just looks crazy. Like I said, in general, it was a match. They're building towards something with the New Day and Elias and Jackson Riker, which kind of feels like they're both filling time. You know, they don't want to put them back in the title picture right away for the New Day, and I don't think they're comfortable with Elias and Jackson Riker as a dominant tag team in Monday Night Raw.
You know, speaking of tag teams, I mean, where is AJ Styles and Omos? They've missed the past couple weeks of Raw. You know, those are your Raw tag team champions. It just seems like that the tag team champions, they don't like to feature them that much.
Champion celebration. SmackDown. Almost and AJ are living it up, celebrating. They're probably still in Tampa.
They probably are still in their hotel. No, but seriously though, I would expect even a celebration segment. You know, for the new champions, Omos in his first match wins the title. You know what I'm saying? That's huge. But they're not doing it. Maybe they'll appear on Monday. Hopefully so. I want to see more of the tag team champions, and that's honestly also a problem with SmackDown too. I feel like Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, they're really not featured enough at all. You know, so but you know, it is what it is. I think it's time to talk about what I think is the strangest thing in wrestling. Okay, we've talked about Alexa Bliss for forever now. We've both been praising what she's done with this new character, this new gimmick that she's been doing. The week prior, she introduced a new character in Alexa's Playground. That's like her own episode, I guess. Her name is Lily. And because of Lily, I can't sleep. And as you see what JP's doing there, it's scary stuff.
It's terrifying.
But it really is. It really is. So in this segment of Alexa's Playground, she explained her history, the history of Lily, and the way that she was talking. She had this doll her entire life, and I could not stop laughing when they were showing baby pictures of Alexa Bliss, and that cursed doll was in every picture. I couldn't stop. I almost believed it for a second. I'm like, don't tell me that's an actual doll that she had, but there's no way that's a, you know.
You know, it's crazy right? Until you tweeted out. I'm like, that's crazy. She had that doll for her whole life. And then you tweeted out. I'm like, oh wait, yeah, it's fake. Like, I was like, okay.
Yeah. I even tweeted out on Twitter, kind of adding the USA Network, and even the USA Network was scared. And I'm like, thank you for broadcasting it. You know, thank you for that. No, but seriously, so she was going over kind of, you know, Lily is the reason that Alexa Bliss does these bad things. And Lily never liked The Fiend. So that's kind of what she explained as to why she turned on the Fiend at WrestleMania. Which and at the end, oh, and by the way, it's like a swing set, and Alexa Bliss is on one swing, and Lily's on the other swing. Just chilling there. And then at the end, we got a close with Lily, and Lily bites the screen. I swear, I was like, okay, I need a break. I need a break. Like,
it was a jump scare.
It was a jump scare for real. And let me ask you this, JP, legitimate thoughts, because if I'm being honest, I really don't know how to feel. I kind of like it because it's so weird what's going on here, but at the same time, like, man, it doesn't make Raw better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like, this is what I look forward to on Monday Night Raw.
Yes, absolutely.
Which I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. I think the character work is really done really well, but nothing about this makes sense. Like, that's the thing. Like, nothing makes sense with this Fiend Alexa Bliss story. There's no clear end in sight. Like, you can't have Alexa Bliss fight the Fiend.
But let me ask you this, JP. I feel like that's going to be the end game of this, because this is a storyline. They're in a feud, I guess, right? I mean, on Firefly Funhouse, not this week, the prior week, he was talking about Alexa Bliss and some of the puppets, including Sister Abigail, was calling her a bitch. It was kind of funny. But and then the Rambling Rabbit, he was saying, I'll miss her, and then the Fiend got a little angry at him. So it seems like that we're in a Alexa Bliss Fiend feud.
Honestly, now that I think about it, they did have Alexa Bliss fight Randy Orton,
and she won.
Okay.
She won.
Yep, she did win.
Can we actually real quick? The Fiend faced Randy Orton twice, lost twice. Alexa Bliss faced Randy Orton once and won.
Sounds like we know who's gonna win again in the Fiend against Alexa Bliss.
We know the favorite, but I'm on the same thing with you, man. I look forward to it. Every time Raw comes around and they say, okay, a new Alexa's Playground, a new Firefly Funhouse, I'm definitely intrigued to watch it. Is this gonna help Raw? It's not, but it's entertainment.
There's a lot that Raw can't be helped by just one thing, sadly. But this is one of the positives that I get from it, because I'm genuinely intrigued. There's no end in sight, but it's like, okay, I'm just going to be here along for the ride. I've turned my brain off for those segments. There's no reason to seriously think for those.
No reason to seriously think. It's just true. We move on to the next match. Drew McIntyre gets his wish. He's taking on Mason T-Bar in a handicap match. And the way that this ends, Drew McIntyre actually defeats Mason T-Bar. However, it's via disqualification. The former Retribution members kind of attack him. And then we get Braun Strowman coming out, to the aid of Drew McIntyre. And it turns into a tag match. And listen, I'm not going to say, all I'm saying is that Retribution wins. They beat Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman. However, at the end, they get unmasked. We see Dio Madden. We see Dominic Dijakovic. I think you're with me on this. Not a bad match. It was whatever. I hope they stay unmasked. I hope they coming Monday, because they're gonna have a rematch. They're having a rematch Monday. No masks. Even in the graphic though, I think they had them masked. I really hope that's not the case going into the match. Thoughts on the match and thoughts on that whole masking thing?
Match itself was fine. I still am kind of like, okay, where is this going? Especially with Braun Strowman. Because what is Braun going to be doing? I think they have plans for him, but right now he's below Drew McIntyre on the WWE Championship totem pole. I don't know if he's going to go for the U.S. title, because there really wouldn't be a reason unless he faces Sheamus. He has no tag team partner, so he's kind of just doing stuff. I think Mason T-Bar work really well together as a tag team. I think they should remain together as a tag team for the time being. Their move set together works really well. And like you said, I think they need to keep the masks off, because this signals the end of Retribution. It's the end. everybody in Retribution should have their mask taken off. Who was in Retribution? Because there's no reason to be associated with it anymore or wear the mask if you don't no longer associate with Retribution. So I'm kind of nervous for what's going to happen next week with the tag match. I don't think they're going to come out with their masks, although I think they have to have the masks on there for the promo picture, because I guess in kayfabe, it'd be real weird after you get your mask taken off. It's like, yeah, get a picture of me without my mask so you can use it for the promo next week. I don't think that happened, like kayfabe wise, but looking at it from the outside in, I'm kind of nervous, because if they keep the masks on, I think that's a step back for what was accomplished.
I agree. I just feel like, having them unmasked and then putting the mask back on just seems like it doesn't make that much sense. So, I mean, I don't see really the way to do it. Two things. They're still calling them T-Bar and Mace. The commentators didn't say, oh, look, it's Dio Madden. I don't think they did. I don't think they said, oh, look, it's Dio Madden. Oh, look, it's Dominic Dijakovic from NXT. I don't think they said that. But so we'll see where that leads to. And again, are they part of the Hurt Business? We still don't know. MVP has been kind of silent on that sort of point there. But we move on.
Quick side note.
Go for it.
So this match was, to this point, this segment was the second longest segment of the card for the entire show. If you combine the original handicap match and the tag match, it's 13 minutes. The opening match between Randy Orton and Matt Riddle also went 13 minutes. The other two in between, Lana and Naomi, the women's tag match went 4 minutes and 25 seconds. Elias and Kofi Kingston went 4 minutes and 40 seconds. But again, Drew in the handicap took 6 minutes. The tag match went 7 minutes. So it's not really having a lot of time.
I just feel like, what's amazing about that is that what's funny is you look at NXT, you look at SmackDown, especially AEW. They have a 2-hour time slot and they make the most out of it. The matches, they don't really, sometimes they might, but most of the time the matches are very fully fledged out. On a 3-hour Raw show, you can't have I just feel like this 3-hour time slot is doing more bad than good.
I think it is too. I think they need to go down to 2 hours because, one, I don't think they have enough people they actually care about. I don't think they have enough stories or writing to fill 3 hours week in, week out. And we've seen with 2-hour shows, you're in more of a time crunch. So you got to get up. You got to put your best work out there in the 2 hours that you have. I really think it, like you said, it does more bad than good. And even looking at the rest of the matches on here, the final two matches both are under 10 minutes, including the main event. So it's really bare bones at this point.
It pretty much is, yeah. But moving on, we have a Miz and Maurice, Miz TV, a special edition. They're celebrating their show. I think it's a season premiere or something like that on the USA Network. Good for them, sure. They have a celebration. Who interrupts is Damian Priest, because obviously he lost last week by Miz rolling him up with his underpants, with his pants down, his underpants showing, his ass showing, as Damian Priest should be handled. And so Damian Priest comes out and he pretty much challenges the Miz, except the Maurice is like, oh, do you want to match with my husband then? And then, Miz, his face is just like, what are you doing, babe? Like, what are you doing? But then, so they have a match later on and Damian Priest, defeats the Miz pretty clean here. And I'm hoping that, fine match, whatever. Again, another match, it's just like whatever. But hopefully this is the end for Damian Priest. Damian Priest in this whole Miz storyline. I just move on. Damian Priest, we know he can do big things. They're probably going to give him a big push in the mid-card title scene. Maybe he takes it off of Sheamus. I don't know. And we'll talk about that a little later, but JB, thoughts on this?
I'm ready for Damian Priest to be done with The Miz. I think this segment, the 50-50 booking week in, week out is kind of like, okay. That's not an indictment on The Miz or Damian Priest. It's just, I'm tired of seeing them face each other, considering we've seen a variation of that since the Royal Rumble and now we're continuing to get it through Backlash. So that's Rumble, Fastlane, not Elimination Chamber, but Rumble, Fastlane, WrestleMania, then maybe Backlash. I'm just tired of seeing it through like 4 pay-per-views. He's got to move on to something, and he's got to move on to bigger things. The match itself was fine, but it's nothing we haven't seen before.
Completely agree. And again, just hopefully they move Damian Priest to bigger and better things. Again, I wouldn't mind seeing him in the mid-card title scene. I doubt they'll push him right to the main title scene, but we'll see where that goes. Hoping for the best for him. And by the way, I'm going to leave the whole women's title scene to the very end here. We're on the second to last thing. Sheamus comes out with the new United States champion, and I think he was talking to Adam Pearce, and Adam Pearce was kind of recommending doing a whole open challenge sort of thing. I think he was saying like, oh, one of the best United States champions of all time, John Cena, did an open challenge week in and week out. So maybe you should do the same. And Sheamus says, I'll do an open challenge when I feel like he comes to the ring. He kind of says the same thing. Who comes out for the open challenges? Humberto Carrillo. We have not seen this guy in a long time. I feel like the last time we've seen him was in a locker room sort of scene where Bobby Lashley was kind of doing the bounty thing for Drew McIntyre. He comes out, and it seems like there's going to be a match, but not really. I mean, Sheamus literally beats the shit out of him to the point where there's no match. So, I mean, sure. JP, with thoughts on this?
Okay. I mean, I don't know what we expected from a heel as a heel move. But I mean, okay. I don't think we're going to be having any more open challenges. Or actually, we might. He might do this and like beat a couple more people up until he gets to like a challenger who actually like gives him an actual fight. Ricochet, maybe. Mustafa Ali, maybe. That'd be something that could possibly hold over until we get to Damian Priest.
Or, this is what I said. This is who I thought was going to come out. But like you said, I think he'll be a couple more people. And I have a feeling there's a couple more people, maybe Mustafa Ali, maybe Ricochet, he'll beat the crap out of them. Which, by the way, it is very, I guess, weird nowadays to see Sheamus beating up people because he was like the Jey Uso of Raw. He just kept losing in really good matches, and now he's beating the crap out of people. Keith Lee, man, I don't know where he is. Again, he's injured, right? I think he still has that. He's nursing that injury. He was supposed to win the title at Elimination Chamber in that triple threat match with Riddle and Bobby Lashley. So whenever he gets back, again, you don't want to rush these injuries. Obviously, Keith Lee, I mean, I think he's a big main event player on Raw or whatever brand he's in. I think definitely he'll get an opportunity there. If not, if the injury's going to take a little bit more longer, which I'm hoping it's not that serious. It seems like it is. Damian Priest, I think, is a good contender as well there, like you mentioned. So we'll see. Thinking about that and the future possibilities, I don't mind this.
I don't either. Because the possibilities really are you get Keith Lee versus Sheamus or Keith Lee versus Damian Priest. And that sounds like fun to me.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't hate either of those matchups. I think this guy is kind of the limit for the mid-card title scene. But let's go on and let's talk about kind of what the show I feel like was kind of revolved around, which was the Raw Women's title scene. We were going to get Charlotte versus Asuka tonight, which is the main event of the show. We'll talk about the match a little later, but Flair cuts an in-ring promo kind of talking about the women in the locker room, how they're fake, how they're rats, kind of pretty much calling out everybody, saying that, even though she wasn't on the WrestleMania card, she was still the woman that everyone was talking about, why she wasn't on the cards, stuff like that. Talking about how she had the WrestleMania match ripped away from her. She knows she could beat Asuka or Ripley. Beat them both on WrestleMania, so I guess she does have a point there. However, she is interrupted by both Asuka and Ripley. And in one of the promos, I think like she was like telling Asuka to keep like shutting up as she was kind of interfere. And Asuka just yells like, she said, what did she say? She's like, "I'll beat you, bitch," or something like that. It's in that vein. And I got to be honest, like, okay, now I'm hyped for this. So we had this main event, and did you say the time that this main event took?
This main event was 9 minutes and 15 seconds.
So what I will say what that is that in those 9 minutes and 15 seconds, it wasn't a bad match. It was probably one of the better spots of the night. Again, I really did like Riddle and Orton. If this went a little longer, this probably would have been really good. But Asuka defeats Charlotte Flair because of a distraction from Rhea Ripley. Um, and so he locks in the crucifix pin for the win. Afterwards, Flair attacks the referee, stomping him, just absolutely beating the crap out of him. And officials trying to separate her. They eventually do. She just gets back in there and beats up the same exact ref. And then it was announced I think like an hour later that she was suspended. She has a fine. I think it was a suspension indefinitely. So, but JP, thoughts on the match? Thoughts on the aftermath? Where are we leading to?
So I think Charlotte and Asuka are physically incapable of having a bad match together. I think it's never going to be scientifically proven. It's just impossible. It'll never happen. This is going to be a very controversial take, but I never want to see Charlotte as a face again. I think
is that a hot take?
It's really? It's not. I know I'm lighting it up with the takes today, but I don't want to see her as a face again. She's a natural bad guy. She's really good at being a bad guy. And again, I thought the match was really, really good. I think Rhea Ripley interfering with Charlotte, I guess there's kind of a story there if you think about it, because I feel like Rhea Ripley knows that she's lost to Charlotte before. And that's the only time she's faced Charlotte one-on-one, she's lost. So her interfering with Charlotte, making her lose by disqualification, it makes sense because she doesn't want to face a person who she's lost to. Like, she's 0-1 against her. She's 1-0 against Asuka. I'd lean in the odds of whoever I just beat. So I think the match itself was good. I think where they're going is interesting because you could do a triple threat, you could do a singles match, and there's unpredictability here, which is a good thing.
Completely agree. I do really want to see kind of a Rhea Ripley Charlotte Flair match for the title. I say that wanting Rhea Ripley to win, which, I mean, who knows what will happen there. But I pretty much agree with the take that you had there. I never bought Charlotte Flair as a good guy, like you mentioned, as a face. When you just kind of knew she was going to go back, like literally in that same exact in-ring promo. Like, does anybody remember when her and Asuka were tag team champions? Remember that? How not good that was, really. We kept complaining about that. Because we knew that there were going to be enemies a little later on, and even in that promo, I think she mentioned their tag team championship reign, or just kind of hinted at it, saying like, "Yeah, I don't like Asuka." No shit, Charlotte. I knew you didn't to begin with. But you're right. But even so, that in-ring promo that she did have, even in the past couple of weeks, it's been good stuff. I'm not saying, even though it's kind of the same stuff she's been saying throughout her whole career, but still good stuff nonetheless. Charlotte Flair, listen, I know a lot of hate gets on Charlotte Flair. I feel like for the right reasons, but I don't even think it's her fault. I just feel like it's, she kind of has that Roman Reigns set factor a couple years ago where like they just kept pushing her and, fans didn't like it. But fans hate everything. I don't know if you saw this tweet, but fans kind of turn on wrestlers that they want to get pushed pretty easily.
Yeah.
And again, people have been asking Ricochet to get a big push from day one. And I feel like after 2 weeks, they just want a new WWE champion if he ever was one. My little rant about the IWC right there. I'm sorry about that, but still, I mean, I hope maybe that's a hot take.
I don't know if it's a hot take. I definitely can see it. I think sometimes like fans, I think Daniel Bryan kind of summed it up when he was the heel. He's kind of saying they're fickle at times. And I think that fickleness definitely plays a part in how wrestlers are booked because they are catering to the fans. It's obvious when you have a live audience that you're listening to the audience. As far as Charlotte goes, she's a top 5 wrestler in the WWE. She's a top 5 women's wrestler in the WWE. I don't think there's any doubt about that, regardless of face or heel. She goes in there, she doesn't have a bad match. I understand the hate, but at the same time, I don't get it because she is really, really good at this, especially as a heel. She's cutting the same promo, kind of in the same vein as she was a few years ago. But the way she says it is a lot better. You can say something multiple times over and over, but it's the way you say it that's going to make it resonate with you.
Completely agree. Yeah. And again, I think that with the hate to Charlotte is not even, again, her fault. Again, her winning the NXT title at WrestleMania 36 is it needed? No, right? I mean, and again, that's just a recipe to hate someone. I feel, which I feel like having one of your main roster mainstays, foundation pieces, winning the NXT title. I mean, again, you know, so but whatever. We move on from that. That's the end of Raw. Again, just to kind of talk about Raw in general. It's just another mess show. I feel like, again, I put on this on Twitter. I said, I mean, compared to other Raws, this is pretty good. And that's not saying really a lot. You know what I'm saying?
I don't even know if I go meh. If you think about it, did the bad outweigh the good?
Maybe a bit. Because here's the thing, right? You had, I really enjoyed the whole Orton Riddle stuff. Mm-hmm. That part I really did enjoy. I didn't hate the Raw Women's title stuff with Ripley and Charlotte and Asuka. I hate it. Is that it?
The Alexa Bliss stuff.
I was horrified, but it was interesting.
Okay, so we'll count that.
I'll count it for sure. But again, like the whole women's tag stuff, if they are setting up a New Day, Elias Jackson Riker thing, I'm not really with that. The Viking Raiders are back. Good stuff. Yeah.
I think that's Raw. It. I mean, Raw just needs something to get people to care about it. Nobody cares right now.
Also, again, real quick, I just feel like it was just a filler episode for the main title scene when it comes to Bobby Lashley. I don't think we saw Bobby Lashley at all. More so MVP, the whole thing. I mean, I guess I'm interested to see where T-Bar and Mace fit into this whole thing. So it's just one of those Raws where it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. You're just setting up for the next episode, but who knows if that next episode will be good.
Nothing feels important.
Agreed.
Like, if you're not going to have your big champion, the WWE champion, show up every week, which Bobby Lashley is done. He's done that. If you don't have him on TV every week, then what are we going to care about?
But that's the thing, though. But just to kind of butt in real quick, I mean, that's the thing, though. If your WWE champion or your Universal champion, whatever the show is not going to be there, that's fine. You just got to give us stuff to care about, like you were just saying. And they don't. I mean, AEW does it when Kenny Omega's on the show. Same thing happens on SmackDown when, Roman Reigns sometimes is on the show. I mean, he's on the show pretty much every week, but still. But go ahead, continue what you're saying.
Yeah, like even comparing it to AEW, they make every title and every champion feel like a big deal. Like every time their music is like, oh, this is the champion, something good's about to happen. That doesn't have the same feeling with Raw. I think we're more excited for like, oh, well, it's Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley's great. Rhea Ripley's great. She's awesome. But we have no reason to care about what they're doing or why they're doing it. And I think that's the biggest knock against Raw and why people really don't watch or don't care to watch, because nothing feels important. Like, I feel like they had a good thing going into WrestleMania because you made people care. But I don't know if that was more WrestleMania than it was like what they were doing. But you gotta make people care somehow.
Completely agree. Let's move on. Again, Raw, not great. Again, I hope every week of Raw is great. I really do, but we're not getting it. Again, I hope come Monday, we're recording this on a Saturday. Come Monday, it's the best Raw in weeks, but they have done nothing to make me have that mindset. So we move on. NXT time. It's second episode on Tuesday. And again, by the way, I just want to say I love the schedule because, I don't get to miss Dynamite, like I usually do on Wednesdays. But talking about NXT, it starts off with Kyle O'Reilly after his amazing sanction match against Adam, which is personally my match of the year so far. And he comes out, he established, and Cameron Grimes comes out as well. It's kind of, he tries to establish a business relationship with Kyle O'Reilly. talking about, having NFTs made, and stuff like non-fungible tokens, as they might say in the crypto market. But Kyle O'Reilly just says like, nah. And by the way, Kyle O'Reilly comes out in a nice little jean jacket. How would you rate the fit, real quick, JP, for Kyle O'Reilly that day?
Man, this is a whole nother thing. People need to stop comparing Kyle O'Reilly and Orange Cassidy because it's two different things. Yeah. Please stop doing that. Not everything is a shot at AEW, and not everything is a shot at WWE or NXT. Can we please just enjoy this? I'm not comparing the two. I agree with Cameron Hawkins, Seahawk on Twitter. If you don't follow him, you should. We need to ban wrestling fans from using the word drip forever. Because they don't use it right. It's like when you teach a little kid a new word and they just go around and like my little sister who's 2, we're teaching new words and she'll go around and like point at something and call it the wrong thing. It's like, no, it's this other thing. Let's just stop using the word drip as a wrestling community because you don't use it right, especially when it comes to like Kyle O'Reilly. It was cool, but it's not drip. It's different. I don't know how to explain it. It's just different.
So do you think that's the fault of the IWC, or do you think that's the fault of really Seth Rollins saying every week how much he has drip?
Yes. I think it's both. I think it's both.
Yeah. No, yeah, completely agree there. So again, and within that promo before Cameron Grimes did come out, actually, Kyle O'Reilly kind of set his sights. He says Adam Cole's behind him. He's setting his sights right now in the NXT Championship. Pretty much said that to Karrion Kross. I'm like, okay, I guess that's what's happening here. Again, this is when Cameron Grimes comes out, and then I think he socks him right in the face with the microphone, and we're getting that match in the main event. So that's how it starts. First match of the night, though, is Dexter Lumis versus LA Knight. LA Knight was the reason why Dexter Lumis was eliminated in that Gauntlet Eliminator at NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. Not a bad match here. I know we always talk about LA Knight here when it comes to his mic abilities. He's one of the better guys there on the mic. When it comes to wrestling stuff, he might not be the greatest, but in this match again against Dexter Lumis, which I feel like their play styles were very kind of comparing here. I really didn't mind this match at all, actually. So again, those play styles kind of going at each other. And pretty much what happened in this match was LA Knight kind of getting the upper hand. He was mocking Lumis throughout this. But the main thing about this is that Indy Hartwell, they're really hampering on this Indy Hartwell, Dexter Lumis stuff here. Indy Hartwell catches his attention. They kind of lock eyes there. And then LA Knight took advantage of that, planting Lumis with reverse DDT out of the ropes to win the match. Again, Lumis and Hartwell, they almost kiss. It's very funny the way Hartwell kind of puckers up there, but the way he drag her out, they're like, no, you can't do that. A classic Romeo and Juliet tale here on NXT. Backstage, Mackenzie Mitchell tried to interview Indy Hartwell, but once again, the way kind of interrupts here. Bronson Reed comes out, kind of says, why can't people love each other? Stuff like that. Bronson Reed challenges Johnny Gargano. Instead, Austin Theory said that he talked to William Regal and said, if you beat me, then you have the match against Johnny Gargano for the North American title. And Johnny Gargano's like, why did you say that? Why did you say whatever? And then Bronson Reed leaves. It comes to a point where I remember that Austin Theory called Johnny Gargano Big Papa John. And then Johnny Gargano, he was really mad. He just became really happy when Austin Theory said that. I love the way. I gotta be honest. I love the way. So next week, they announced that it will be Bronson Reed and Austin Theory. And then obviously if Bronson Reed wins, he faces Gargano for the North American title. So that's what happens. JP, brief thoughts on LA Knight versus Dexter Lumis. And maybe what are you expecting from Bronson Reed and Austin Theory?
I didn't hate the match. I thought it was really fun. I think Dexter Lumis is a really fun wrestler. I'm really interested in what they're doing with Dexter Lumis, and the way. Again, thought it was a fun match. I think Bronson Reed is great, and I think the way is awesome too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one thing, and again, we go to the next segment here, and Io Shirai is having an interview spot with Beth Phoenix, and they're kind of talking because obviously this is the first time we're hearing from Io Shirai since she lost the NXT Women's title against Raquel Gonzalez, Stand and Deliver. So she is talking to Beth Phoenix about what's next for her, what she's playing for, is there any injuries, yada yada yada, and they're talking, and within this, and she says she expects to have a rematch against Raquel Gonzalez and stuff like that. Shirai admits that she was tired, but she promised to rest up, get back in that women's title division. Who interrupts though is I don't know if the dog has a name, but it's the Pomeranian of Frankie Monet kind of walking on the table. Beth Phoenix and Shirai are surprised, and here comes Frankie Monet, aka Taya Valkyrie, comes into frame, and saying how she's a huge fan of Beth Phoenix, which and she's saying she's a huge fan of Beth Phoenix, and she looks at Io Shirai, talks about being in the women's division, and she nearly got into a fight with her, kind of saying that she's gonna take her spot while they're away there. So kind of future business there, a future rivalry there. And again, Frankie Monet, we didn't talk about this on the show actually, but she was in that really awesome moment where it was Raquel Gonzalez kind of celebrating her championship victory. Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley made an appearance on NXT because of that picture and stuff like that. JP, let me ask you a question real quick, because when it comes to Frankie Monet, I know there's a whole thing in the community now, like, oh, that name sucks because I want Taya Valkyrie. Again, we're talking a lot about the crapness of the IWC today. Either way, though, what do you expect from Frankie Monet here in this women's division? She's kind of making her way. I want to ask one more thing, actually, because she told Beth Phoenix that she's a huge fan and she's been watching her since she was a kid. However, she's not that much younger than Beth Phoenix. Again, to me, it doesn't annoy me at all. I can care less, really. Does that annoy you? And where do you see Frankie Monet so far in the women's division in NXT?
I think she's going to be an instant boost to near the top of the women's division. She's going to be facing Raquel Gonzalez soon. She's done so much on the independent scene and in Impact, where she's great at promos. She can do wrestling. I think one of the reasons that she says she's the huge fan of Beth Phoenix is because I think the Glam Slam is a lot like the Road to Valhalla, which is her finisher. I think it looks the same. I might be getting those two moves mixed up, but I'm really excited to see where it goes. Again, women's division is stacked. It's absolutely stacked. And Frankie Monet just coming into this division and immediately feuding with Io Shirai is must-see television.
Completely agree. Again, I'm excited to see more of her. I saw a little bit of her stuff in Impact. I haven't seen too much of it, but I've seen enough to know that she's really good. And again, the NXT Women's Division, like you said, is pretty stacked. I mean, when she made the claim that she's joining the best women's division in wrestling, it's not really so hard to believe. I feel. I mean, not Raw, SmackDown's not bad, and the AEW, it's kind of getting there. We're finally getting a really awesome women's division over there, which we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, NXT, it's definitely up there with one of the best divisions there. We get Grizzled Young Veterans versus Breezango there, and not a bad match here. But however, Grizzled Young Veterans does get the win over Breezango. And again, it seems like we're expecting MSK to kind of have a feud with them. We've seen it before. They won in the finals of the Dusty Cup. Then in the vacant titles and Stand and Deliver, MSK won, but I feel like we're going to be getting that eventual kind of rematch, I guess. One tag team against another tag team here. I'm kind of for it, but what I will say is that, man, Grizzled Young Veterans, it's nice to get a win here, but man, they're not going to win these titles. What do you disagree?
I don't think they're going to win the titles. I think Grizzled Young Veterans is consistent. I've compared them to FTR before, and I think they're in the same vein of they can have a good match with anybody, with any wrestling style. And they kind of combine that kind of old school, I guess, tag style with new school moves. I think it's really cool. It's really fun. I think this match with Breezango actually was one of the better ones on NXT this week. I think it was fun. Breezango, criminally underrated, underused. I think they're funny. And it'll be interesting to see what they do with this tag division, because with MSK being there, you can have so many different titles. You can have so many different matches with Imperium. You can have your rematch with Grizzled Young Veterans. You can do Breezango. You can do oh goodness, what's their names? Legado del Fantasma. I mean, even Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch, they never got that match. Once Danny Burch gets back healthy, they could have that match because, again, they had to relinquish the titles. They never really lost them. So there's a lot of opportunities there for the tag division, and it just continues to show out on a weekly basis.
Completely agree. And again, we'll see. Again, I don't mind seeing an MSK Grizzly Young Veterans rematch. I think they might have one more match left in them in this kind of rivalry they've been having, and I think they'll put on a show. That Dusty Cup final was great, and what they had in Veterans Day, the kind of triple threat tag team match they had at Stand and Deliver, good there as well. So let's just get one more. Why not? Was this tag team match one of the best of NXT? It was pretty good. I think there's a couple matches that might have taken the cake a little bit more. I think this is one of them. We get the in-ring debut of NXT of Saray, who liked one of our tweets. Thank you. I know you're obviously watching the show. And she faced Zoe Stark. So pretty much two young, incoming talents here for NXT. We've seen Zoe Stark before, kind of earning the Jey Uso Award, as we call it now, on here. Just she keeps losing. In great matches though, even though she won against Toni Storm, but her and Saray, I think they put on a really awesome match, especially for Saray, who again really haven't seen a lot of any of her stuff, and really the Warrior of the Sun, which is her nickname. She puts on a really good one here. She gets the win at the end. And as again, Stark and Saray, Stark is a face. They're showing support. They're showing the respect for one another. Afterwards, Toni Storm attacks Zoe Stark when she leaves the ring. So maybe we're gonna get more Stark and Toni Storm. I don't hate it. I mean, they had a pretty solid match, I think, in the pre-show. But again, it's just the pre-show. I think they deserve at least a television match. So I'm cool with it. JP, thoughts on Saray versus Zoe Stark?
Saray is already one of my favorite women's wrestlers in NXT because she combines like hard hitting with grace. It's weird. It's smooth, but also looks like it could literally like kill you. Like the roundhouse kick into the forearm, I was like, oh, that looks cool, but it could also like decapitate me. So I'm really intrigued to see where she goes from here. Again, like absolutely loaded. This women's division is loaded. Crazy thing is I completely forgot about Toni Storm. I forgot she was even on the NXT main roster. I thought she was back in the NXT UK. But even still, Toni Storm, Zoe Stark, I wouldn't mind seeing it on TV. I would watch that wholeheartedly. Saray, where Saray goes from here, there's nowhere to go but up. I really think she's gonna again go to the top of the women's division, and this is creating a good little list of opponents Raquel Gonzalez has to face. You got Io Shirai, you got Mercedes Martinez, Dakota Kai, Frankie Monet, Saray, Zoe Stark, maybe, Toni Storm. Oh man, I feel like I'm forgetting someone. Tegan Knox when she's healthy. Just absolutely loaded. And I'm all for it. I'm excited because again, the possibilities are endless.
Completely agree. And speaking of Raquel Gonzalez, I know her and Dakota Kai did have a backstage kind of interviews talking about pretty much the future opponents. Mercedes Martinez did challenge her the week prior to this. And again, still planting the seeds, I would think. I honestly forgot if you named her already. It seems like Dakota Kai, we're definitely going to be eventually getting that match between these two whenever that happens. Continuing to planting the seeds, all the focus is going on Raquel Gonzalez. And again, I just feel like in that moment where it was Bianca Belair, it was Rhea Ripley, it was Raquel Gonzalez kind of celebrating their championship wins. Nowhere to be seen is Dakota Kai in that situation. She feels like the odd man out, or the odd woman out, So I think we're going to get that way too. It happens the same thing in this backstage interview. Later, we see Mercedes Martinez kind of do a little promo of her own. It seems like that will be the first title match we might see with Raquel Gonzalez against Mercedes Martinez, which, I mean, I don't mind. I think that could be a pretty solid match. But let's talk about Kushida, the new NXT Cruiserweight Champion. Again, if you follow us on Twitter, you saw us talk about this match. He had a pretty awesome match against Santos Escobar for the Cruiserweight title. Surprisingly won. He's doing an open challenge. And who answers? I did not expect Oni Lorcan to come stumbling out. And I'm like, okay, this could be a fine match. And it was pretty damn good, between these two. A very technical one to pretty much throughout this match, but especially the start there. And again, Oni Lorcan, however, does not get the title at the end here. We see Kushida hit a springboard double knee drop to the arm of the challenger, went for the hoverboard lock. Lorcan could only skip for so long before he's thrown to the mat again, forced to tap out. Afterwards, we see Legado del Fantasma ambush Kushida. Who comes? It's MSK. They come up to even the odds there, and you're probably thinking, oh, hey, it's 3-on-3. Probably a 6-man tag match. You're right if you guessed it, because we're getting that this week. So, yeah. So, JP, thoughts on the Cruiserweight title match? Thoughts on the 6-man tag match next week or this upcoming week?
I'm a huge fan of Kushida. If you know this, if you follow the show, you follow me on Twitter, I'm a huge Kushida fan. This match was really good. Like, it was really good. I think their wrestling styles complement each other in that they're somewhat the same. Very technical, but also, like, again, will decapitate you. I think Oni Lorcan, one of the more underrated wrestlers in NXT, because he can go with just about anybody. And then the whole Legado and MSK stuff, I'm all for it. Because this gets a longer match between Kushida and Santos Escobar. Absolutely. Legado Fantasma against MSK for the tag titles? Absolutely. I need both of those on the next pay-per-view. Triple H, I know you're listening. Go ahead and book it for me. I need that.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I'm on board. I know actually in the Bleacher Report recap for what's going on with Kushida and the Cruiserweight title, he pretty much mentioned that's going to be a kind of a week in, week out thing where with these open challenges, it's going to be must watch television. I kind of agree. I mean, I would like to see really Kushida face anybody, because again, like you said, I mean, I'm not as big of a fan as Kushida as you are, but I see the hype there. And again, I'm glad that he's finally getting the kind of the wins, because again, we were thinking that he's going to be taking the Jey Uso Award. He keeps losing, but he gets that upset win, obviously. Are you mad that he kind of ditched wrestling in the jeans because now he has some gear, he has some trunks? Do you not like that? Do you not care?
Kind of don't care, but at the same time, Kushida wrestling in jeans is real cool.
It's cool. It's cool. Yeah, I just want to get your thought on that. We go to the next match. It's Imperium versus Ever Rice here. No Walter. I will say this is a pretty short match. Ever Rice tries to challenge Imperium pretty easily. Nothing could stop. Nothing could really stop them. We see Killian Dane kind of come out and Drake Maverick try to distract them. Pretty much no avail. I mean, it pretty much just ends with Killian Dane kind of carrying Drake Maverick as he's screaming at them. But Imperium, they win against Ever Rise. Nothing really special here. Nothing really special here at all. Are we getting a Jewel appearance?
Hi, Jewel. Honestly, R.I.P. Ever Rise.
Yeah.
I mean, that was rip. And Imperium does this so well. Like, they just beat the crap out of other teams. And it's hilarious. And it's awesome to see. Like, I don't want to make the comparison because I think they're better as a tag team and better wrestlers. But they're very authors of pain-ish in terms of they just, like, destroy teams. And it's so great. I think it's such a switch up in style from the other tag teams because you got the high flyers like MSK. You got Legado, who's high flyers. Grizzly Young Veterans does a lot of the Lucha Libre stuff. Imperium's not going to do that. They're going to try and like slam you through the ring. So I think that's really cool. Again, Killian Dane is going to end up in Imperium. Either Killian Dane or Tim Thatcher. I feel like it's too easy for them to do. It's too easy.
I completely agree there. I think Joel wants to talk wrestling.
You want to talk wrestling? You want to talk wrestling?
There you go. Hey, Joel.
Say hi.
Hello.
You say hi.
She's an Imperium fan for sure.
She's definitely an Imperium fan. All right, you gonna go back? Say bye-bye.
There you go, yelling to sell viewers. Getting a Jewel appearance there. But we move on to the main event. of NXT. Talking about Cameron Grimes versus Kyle O'Reilly. Not a good night at all for Cameron Grimes. He bid on an NFT. And who bid late? He didn't win the bid. It was Ted DiBiase who won the NFT at the end. And you see Cameron Grimes' face. He is ready to burst. And I said this on Twitter, and we talked about this match. This is, a really good match with Kyle O'Reilly and Cameron Grimes in the main event here. Cameron Grimes is such an underrated wrestler, I feel like, in the ring. We kind of see that comedic sort of thing kind of out of the ring and the promos and stuff like that. And again, I don't mind it. He's hilarious, but I feel like that in-ring work is so underrated. And again, him and Kyle O'Reilly put on an awesome main event there. And I don't know what that move is. It's that move where like they're both going on the ropes and Cameron Grimes like flips the guy in midair. Do you know?
Oh yeah. Let me see if I can find it.
That move.
I think he calls it the collision course, where he like grabs them and does like a moonsault into like a slam. I think like I'm using this from like 2K. They call it a follow away moonsault slam, and every time he does it, I'm like, wow, that looks awesome, because he's done it on Bronson Reed, which
I remember that.
Super impressive. I think on the Indies he's done it to Keith Lee, and that was fantastic to see. But like you said, the gimmick kind of overshadows the fact that this dude can go in the ring. Yeah. And I think the gimmick is great. I was a little wary on it because, with the whole stock thing kind of being like a limited like window of popularity, I was worried that it was going to fizzle out real quick. But no, this has been great. It's been hilarious. I was dreaming up ideas. I'm like, dang, they should have like weekly YouTube segments of what Cameron Grimes is buying or what he's trying to buy. Have Ted DiBiase on there, maybe like a special cameo, or like he finally meets up with the guy who's been taking all of his NFTs and all the stuff that he's wanting to purchase, and they like have to have a bidding war or something. Everybody who had to do with money in the WWE, bring them back just to have some fun. It's this really fun segments with Cameron Grimes, and I think they have so much they can do with that. Kyle O'Reilly, you know what you're gonna get. Dude's a star. He's going to be feuding with Karrion Kross soon. Is he going to win though? If it's the first guy he's feuding with straight out of beating Finn Balor, he's not winning. And that would put him at 0-3 in NXT title matches. So you can only book him so many times to lose before.
Yeah. That's the thing too, right? Because like if we really look at it, the main title scene on NXT, it's kind of weak, because you have Karrion Kross, you have Kyle O'Reilly, which I believe I'm not saying I believe that he's in the main title picture, but I believe he could be a big baby face in NXT being the champion. You have Adam Cole, but he's gone. So who really is there? The main title picture. Finn Balor is, he's kind of MIA at the moment. Obviously, he lost the cross. But before the match, also when Kyle O'Reilly was coming out, him and Karrion Kross and Scarlett were right there. They locked eyes, whatever. Totally unrelated, but man, Kyle O'Reilly's music, that needs to go, man. That needs to be changed. That needs to go. I am not feeling his theme music at all. I'm not sure if that's a hot take. It just sounds like random kind of guitar strums. But even still, his new gear is cool. But yeah, that theme song got to go. But
theme songs, you got to do something with theme song. But I definitely agree with you with the main event scene in NXT. I think the biggest problem with it is because Johnny Gargano's beating everybody. Yeah, I feel like you can't logically say, yeah, Bronson Reed should be in the main title picture because he just lost to Johnny Gargano in the NXT North American title. He's never held the title. Dexter Lumis never held that title. Isaiah Swerve Scott still involved with Leon Ruff. LA Knight just got here. So you're kind of running out of people. And I feel like that's the same problem with Johnny Gargano, unless you like flip-flop them. So you have Bronson Reed versus Karrion Kross. You have Dexter Lumis versus Karrion Kross. If you wanted to, you can do Leon Ruff versus Karrion Kross. And rip to Leon Ruff. But again, I feel like it needs kind of an injection, not even like a permanent mainstay, but just some real like quick. So you can say like Kyle O'Reilly doesn't have to be in the main, get the first title shot out. Just something real quick. Because that's what happened with when Johnny Gargano was feuding with Tommaso Ciampa. They had a lot of guys that could rotate into the main title scene while Ciampa and Gargano were feuding. Because if you push them right away and then they lose, it's going to look kind of bad.
Yeah. Here's my thing with that. Right. And again, the main title scene, it's weak. We were talking about this just now. What if Kyle O'Reilly wins the title? Okay. I'm not saying how he wins it. Okay. All I'm saying is that Karrion Kross, he fits the main roster, I feel, personally. I never really heard of a case of them fast tracking a person in NXT so they can go up to the main roster. I just feel like he is that type of guy that can do some good stuff in the main roster. So maybe they just strap the title on Kyle O'Reilly, and then we get more matches maybe with Adam Cole. I don't know, because again, it's like, who is Kyle O'Reilly going to face beyond? Who's Karrion Kross going to face beyond Kyle O'Reilly? You mentioned all the names there. I mean, I guess I wouldn't mind seeing Bronson Reed. However, I feel like maybe that, again, I think Bronson Reed is going to beat Austin Theory in this upcoming Tuesday. And hell, I think he's going to beat Gargano finally, I feel like, for the North American title. So he's out of the picture. I don't see LA Knight being there after being in the company for a couple months. Who really is there? I mean, I guess you could give a rematch to Finn Balor.
Again,
it's just what's going on. I mean,
there is another guy who's probably going to be cleared soon, who hasn't been used in like 2 years for some real funky reasons. I wouldn't do it, but knowing the WWE.
No, I know what you're going to say. Stop.
I know. But it could happen. And again,
just don't have children around them. That's just,
yeah, I know. I wouldn't do it either. You know what? What about Walter?
Okay, now you got me. Well, actually, I'm forgetting Pete Dunne as well. However, I think he might be in the North American title scene. But Walter's interesting. I feel like Walter would inject a lot of stuff in there. Imagine a Walter Karrion Kross match. I'd see that.
God.
Easily.
Dude.
Man, the pain in that match they'll experience. Oh my God.
Dude. Like you can do so much with Walter right now, especially being on NXT on Tuesdays. I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is Finn Balor has never won the NXT UK title. He's from Ireland.
Oh no. You know what, man? I could totally see that happening.
And Walter's had the longest title reign in WWE history. Not WWE history, but modern WWE history. I don't think anybody's beating Bruno Sammartino's like 2,000 day reign. But the perfect person to beat that, to end that streak, would be a Finn Balor. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Yeah, again, we'll see where this happens. That's honestly a very interesting thing to follow, is that main title picture. Because again, I'm excited to see Karrion Kross and Kyle O'Reilly, but like you said, it's like, I feel that'll be very damaging for Kyle O'Reilly. Maybe Adam Cole interferes in that title match, and we don't see a clean victory. I guess, a clean defeat for Kyle O'Reilly. I could actually see that happening, I feel. But we'll see. But we move on to the next show, AEW Dynamite. Talking about AEW now. We haven't talked about them in a couple weeks, but we're going to talk about them now. It starts up right here with Hangman Adam Page versus Ricky Starks. I mean, this is this is how you start a wrestling show. You have two talents, one that is pretty much locked in, I guess, to be the next AEW World Champion. But you also have a guy in Ricky Starks there, who I think could be a mainstay in AEW for a very long time. Obviously, part of Team Taz. They're having their own sort of qualms with Brian Cage, maybe, who might be leaving. We don't know. However, I feel like they have a really awesome opening match here. It's not like the greatest match I've ever seen, but again, a pretty solid match here at the end. We see Hangman, we see Ricky Starks. and Page tries to go for a buckshot lariat, but Starks ducks, delivers a spear. Page recovers there. He took over, and he has Starks actually tap out by grabbing the ankle and in a crossface, which we really haven't seen Hangman Page really win in that sort of way. And I think you mentioned this, JP. When it comes to that, you like how we talked about this with Cesaro, right? He can win with the neutralizer and stuff like that, but he has a sharpshooter in his back pocket he can use, gain that submission win there. So I mean, thoughts on this opening match? Hangman Page gets the win here.
Dude, this was fun. And something that AEW's gotten a lot better at since the beginning is they've built up their future really well. Like, nobody's like losing in a bad loss. Like, I like to use like bad loss when it comes to wrestling when like it's very much like Jey Uso, where you lose, but you look great doing it. Ricky Starks is one of those guys who looks great when he loses because everybody can see that he's going to be a star for AEW. Hangman Page already is a star. He was going to get the win. But Ricky Stark's going to be a huge thing for them. And that's what AEW's done so well. They built up everybody to be stars. We're going to talk about a couple of guys later in Powerhouse Hobbs, Jungle Boy, Ty Conti even. I mean, they've built up their future just as well as they've built up their present. And it was on display in this match. Match was awesome. Not awesome, but like it was really good.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a good opening TV match for sure. After the end, Team Taz, who was on Team Taz himself was on commentary. He gets a mic. He says he warns Hangman Page to watch his back. We see Hook kind of chop block, and we get Brian Cage coming into the ring, about to do a power bomb on him. But here comes the Dark Order to save the day. I feel like I'm repeating myself every Hangman Page match at the end there. I just feel like, man, do you think Brian Cage and Team Taz, are they really not going to think maybe we shouldn't attack him here? We'll see Dark Order come out, Other than that, though, it was fine. But we move on from that, and we get actually Trent versus Penta in this one here. I mean, brief match here. But however, we do see Penta defeat Trent. The best thing about this match, though, was that Penta was rocking this Batman gear. And I gotta admit, after I saw that, Penta, my favorite wrestler in AEW, you earned.
Oh, absolutely. Join the club.
Yes, you earned my respect. I mean, it was honestly, like for real, though, it was really clean. Like he had the ears. And even like the chest part, you saw the kind of like the six pack you see on the superhero suits and stuff like that. That was great. They need to make that an action figure. I'd buy like 20 of those. But not a bad match here. Again, pretty kind of self-explanatory. And obviously because Penta is with Alex Abrahantes grabs a microphone. He said during the match that Trent's friend sucks, and so does his mother. And Trent gets absolutely crazy when he says that. So he chases after him, and after a failed interference from Cassidy, he runs right into a shot of the microphone by Alex Abrahantes. A package pile driver by Penta puts away Trent for a win there. Thoughts on this match? I mean, wasn't great. Again, it was fine. Nothing really more to say. What do you think?
It was fine. I could have used a little less of the Alex Abrahantes or Orange Cassidy interfering, but I'm excited to see where this goes solely because we could potentially be getting a Death Triangle versus Best Friends at a pay-per-view. And I'm just like, oh, that's going to be awesome. Penta is one of my favorite wrestlers in AEW. Everything he does looks like it hurts so much. Like, I swear, every time he does a super kick, it sounds like a shotgun has been blasted. And Trent, again, one of the more underrated wrestlers on AEW because he can have a good match with pretty much almost everyone. So I'm excited to see where this goes. And they're making us care, Like, I know we kind of talk about the differences between Raw and AEW, but AEW does a really good job of making us care for most of, not all of their feuds. We're going to get to one later on, but most of their feuds, I actually care about.
So I'm glad you said most of them, because I mean, because here's the thing, right? Obviously, if you're coming here for AEW praise, you're not really going to get it most. I mean, there's a lot of other praise, right? But obviously, Take a shot for every time I mention the IWC, right? But obviously, a lot of them, praise AEW. A lot for the right reasons, but again, I think there's stuff to very much criticize them about for sure. I mean, I just don't like the way they kind of stroke the ego of the IWC. I feel like they're kind of like that vanity dream for them. You're talking about a few later on, I guess, that you're not with, which I'm honestly blanking on which one you're talking about, so I'm interested to hear about it. But we move on. JR interviewing the Pinnacle here. The Pinnacle and the Inner Circle are going to have a blood and guts match on May 5th. Whatever the hell blood and guts means. But it seems like
excited.
It might be a war. It seems like it might be like a war game sort of thing.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited for that too.
Fantastic.
Which, by the way, that's going to be a one match event. It's just that match. So, okay. I mean, whatever the hell that means.
Shoot, I feel it's a lot like, when they'd have Hell in a Cell in WWE, and it was its own, it was a special thing. It wouldn't have its own special pay-per-view, but it'd be a special match. I feel like Blood and Guts is going to be that for AEW, where it's not necessarily always going to be like a one-off event, but the matches on that card is going to be so intense that you expect there to be blood. And there's already been blood been drawn. And guts, I don't know, man. I wouldn't go that far. We've seen what happens when we overhype stuff that sounds like it could kill you, and then
sprinklers. Yeah,
it was jazz hands.
Yeah. But again, a one match. I mean, how long is this match going to take? I mean, we'll see. I'm excited for it. It's gonna be a good event. But JR interviews the Pinnacle here, and I hate to keep even JP. I hate because I always come to the praise of MJF, right? 25 years old, he's still in his, he's in his prime, whatever. No, but seriously though, he delivers an absolute amazing promo there. Kind of talking about the promo that Jericho put on last week, which is great in itself, by the way. But you can see how Jericho and MJF are kind of one-upping each other with these promos here. And I think that he was really commenting on Jericho, talking about how good he is at 25 and what the peak could be and stuff like that. And I think that, again, MJF, a lot of great lines in here. I think there was one line where he said, that, where I'm at 25 is so much better than what you were doing, where you're curtain jerking at, worldwide television when you were 25 years old. I'm like, okay, Axwell, get in on them. But MJF, I mean, just like he does all the time, delivering great promos here. And this is it wasn't even one that was him kind of doing jokes over and over. It was him actually delivering a passionate promo about his career and stuff like that. JP, thoughts on this promo?
So as much as I think MJF kind of scummy as a heel, although that's what his job is, as much as I think he's kind of he's very old school in terms of wrestling style, and I'm kind of like, all right, I can do without it. The man can cut a promo. And I would venture as far as to say he might be the best promo on AEW. I would go that far. Yeah, I mean, he said a line where he's like, Jericho surrounds himself with B's so he looks like an A, then wrestles A so he doesn't look like a B. And I'm like, oh my God, the man is barring him up. And again, what he does with the mic is he builds intensity for the feud. He keeps adding flames to the fire. And that's what you want to see from a promo. Dude can do it. Underrated name in there, Wardlow. Wardlow actually spoke, which, I mean, shocking. I know. And he didn't sound like your normal big guy. He didn't sound, I hate to do this to him. He didn't sound like Braun Strowman. I hate to do it, but he didn't sound like Braun.
You know what he also didn't sound like, which we'll talk about a little later, because the Inner Circle did their own thing. When Wardlow talked in that same promo, it was very impressive because, again, like you said, we don't hear Wardlow talk much. It's just MJF kind of being the mouthpiece there. But Wardlow talks, you feel for it. You see what he's fighting for as well. When Jake Hager talks, it's like, okay, no, it's Jericho to talk, not you, buddy. Because again, later in that promo, I forgot what he said. He was just like, "We're gonna beat the hell out of you." It's like, okay, I really don't like Jake Hager.
Me neither. But again, this feud between the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle is so good. And one of the main reasons it's so good is because the promos, night in, night out, from MJF, from Jericho, from Santana to Sammy Guevara, FTR, Tully Blanchard, they all can go on the mic. And again, it's creating intensity for a feud that I'm really excited to see. I'm glad they made it a one match thing because this might be one of the most hyped matches for AEW outside of the exploding barbed wire death match.
And hopefully it ends better than exploding barbed wire death match. Which I should have worn the t-shirt because I have that t-shirt because I went to the event. But yeah, hopefully it reaches that point. I think it will, man. I think this has even though it has a lot of hype around it and stuff like that, I think we'll get it. Let me ask you a question, JP. Do you think that this match can go either way? Do you think there's a clear winner here for this match? What's your thoughts on that? Because obviously, by the way, let's just talk about the Inner Circle promo that they did later in the night, which was, again, not on the level that MGF did. Again, Jericho tried to kind of one up his promo from last week. To me, he didn't do it. Personally, for me, he didn't do it. Still fine though. Jericho did say they're gonna have a parlay, the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle next week, pretty much talking about the rules of Blood and Guts. So if you feel like it's too early to tell who's gonna win this because you don't know the rules of the match, then just say it. But do you think that there's gonna be a clear winner here, or do you think this can go either way?
I think there's going to be a clear winner, but I also don't know who that winner's going to be. Because I could legitimately see both teams. I can see either faction winning. I don't know if I can say at this point who needs the win more. At this point, I'd probably say the Pinnacle because they're a new faction. And I feel like the Inner Circle can rebound quickly. But again, the Inner Circle are the faces in this. So as always, with traditional face-heel matches, you never really know who's going to win. I think it's gonna be fun. That's all. I'm going for both teams. I hope both teams have fun at this point.
Well, you know who I'm going for. I'm going with my man Maxwell.
I know it's shocking the fact that I'm not saying I want MJF to lose. This is a first for me.
Well, here's my thing because I was thinking about this too. I'm like, I mean, the Pinnacle. I was thinking about myself. The Pinnacle has to win, right? They're like you said, they're a new faction. They need this big win here. But at the same time, I don't see the Pinnacle lasting. I don't know why that is. I just don't see it lasting.
It's because of Sean Spears.
Maybe it's because of the channel. Maybe it's because of the name. It's not really that great of a faction name. I feel like if you're gonna have a really awesome faction, it needs to. I mean, maybe that's very small.
I mean, the Inner Circle isn't exactly the greatest name out there.
But I'll be honest, it sounds cooler. That's for sure. Because the Inner Circle, I guess it's like it just sounds better. Okay, it sounds better than the Pinnacle, personally for me. I guess the theme song. So they use Judas, right? But the Pinnacle theme song is not really the greatest either. I don't know. That's just kind of my thinking. Again, I could see this going either way. Where it's gonna go, I have no idea. Unless it's gonna be Jericho putting over MGF. But MGF said the same thing during his promo. He won against Chris Jericho. They had a match. I think it was Full Gear. Maybe it was. I forgot which pay-per-view it was, but he technically won. Or we move on. However, obviously next week we're gonna be talking about kind of what the rules are, the parlay. We might have an official predictions. We'll see. We move on to the AEW Women's Championship match. Hikaru Shida defending her title against the number one ranked at the moment, Tay Conti. And to me personally, and again, I'm kind of looking at the matches that we saw later in here. I think this was my match of the night, contending with the main event. Personally, for me, right? I thought this was great. And again, we have talked before about the women's division on AEW. Since then, and since me criticizing it, we've seen a lot of light come from it.
Since the women's tournament, it's just been bangers.
It's been, and especially, I really think what kicked it off for me, because the women's tournament was really good, right? Even though I always feel like, if you're having a big tournament, the person that should come out of the tournament should win. I didn't mind it though, because that Ryu Mizunami Hikaru Shida match at Revolution was really good. Ever since that Lights Out match with Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, it seemed like it breathed a lot of life back into the women's division, and now we're seeing it again. Tay Conti's an awesome talent there. These two put on an amazing match, and again, I mean, unless you want to say that Billy Gunn and QT Marshall beat out this match, which I don't think it did, right? Personally, unless some people have
Hey
other
man,
opinions.
unless you are a Road Dog, I don't think you believe that Billy Gunn had a match of the night.
Yeah, I don't believe it either. Unless there's a QT Marshall fan club, which I 100% doubt there is. But
I wouldn't doubt it because they all wear bowling shirts. They have the little family league going at like Thursdays at 7:30, and it's got the whole QT Marshall like logo right here with the apple. They all repping QT Marshall at their bowling league.
Yeah, no. Let's talk about this women's title match at the end here. We'll kind of skip to the end here. Sheeta delivers the witch's shot, dropping Conti out of a fireman's carry across the top. Conti recovers, stuns Sheeta with a knee strike, applied the take KO, kicked out of it. She tried to go for the DDT, but Sheeta counters it into a pinfall attempt for 2. Sheeta follows up with a fireman's carry into a backbreaker, delivers a knee to the face for the win. Afterwards, who do we see? Dr. Britt Baker come out and revealed, kind of pull up the ranking system. She's the number 1 ranked person for the women's title. All I got to say is great match, by the way.
Yeah.
Again, I feel like it's one of my favorite matches of the week for sure, maybe close to the top. Just put the title on Britt Baker, please.
And I think we're going to get that. Everybody's going to get what they wanted in the end. Out of the tournament, everybody going to get what they wanted in the end. Thunder Rosa got a huge showing. Ryu Mizunami, huge showing. Tay Conti, again, we've spoken so much about how much she's improved. She's gotten really good.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to see. Personally, I think the Tay KO should be her finisher. I think it looks a lot cooler than the DDT. But I'm personally like, she's gotten so good, so much better as a wrestler. And that's a lot of credit to the women's division. They've made us care. And that's something that it kind of lacked at the beginning. And Hikaru Shida has been one of the best champions that AEW's had in terms of putting on good matches outside of Abaddon. Well, let's just put Abaddon, the match with Abaddon, we'll put it over here.
It's like you read my mind.
Yeah, we'll focus on everything else. She's been one of the best champions AEW's had. And putting on good matches. And like you said, it's going to be Britt Baker's title. I think it's going to happen as soon as the next pay-per-view.
I think people have been waiting for it, and I feel like that when it happens, we'll see a lot of cheers. I feel like more than boos. I feel like I just think it's just her time. I feel like it's, again, her division. I know she lost against Thunder Rosa, but I would honestly think of her as the face of the women's division, and unless you disagree with me.
She's on all the posters, so
yeah, and she's all on the t-shirts too with her bloody face and all and stuff like that, which I mean, like, I feel like that is very hard to do when even the face of a division or of the company is not your champion. I feel like sometimes it's a little hard to do that, but Britt Baker's done it. And I think it's, again, which, by the way, I think the Hikaru Shida Britt Baker match will be amazing too, as well. And again, I think we see a new champion. I think we'll definitely get, again, I feel like they said on Wednesday that Shida's reign was at 333 something days. She's going to get over a year.
Every time they mention days, it's like, okay, they're about to lose.
They're counting down the days. It seems that we're getting to that point. So, but great stuff there. Great match. Great. Now we're finally going to see, Britt Baker, and hopefully, again, I think it's going to happen, get her title, and I think it's going to be great. Move on to the next match, to an amazing match, okay? This is 5-star worthy. Okay, it's Billy Gunn, 57, I want to say he is, facing against QT Marshall. When I saw that this was going to be one of the matches, I was like, all right, I guess. The only thing I got to be honest, the one thing I wanted to see was Billy Gunn, because I have not seen Billy Gunn wrestle in a long time. I think he's been doing stuff on Dark and Elevation, maybe. I don't watch those. So I mean, it wasn't bad. It was just whatever.
I don't know, man. I'll be going out my way to watch 57-year-old Billy Gunn. And that's no disrespect to Billy Gunn, but I'm not watching Billy Gunn wrestle in 2021.
Especially if he's facing QT Marshall. You know what I'm saying? So, which is I guess you could say, I hate to borrow Christian's tagline here, but Captain Charisma himself. No, but seriously, let's kind of move towards the end here. I think during the match, also the Gun Club, his son's gonna get involved. It was a good moment. I didn't mind that. We get crotch chop, which sparked a babyface comeback by Billy Gunn. We kind of saw him hulk up. He was kind of doing the hulking up thing, which I mean, Billy Gunn, Hulk Hogan. I'm taking Billy Gunn. Got to be real. I think we're all in agreement there.
Yes.
So he downs Marshall in his comeback. Appeared to have things in his favor until we get Anthony Ogogo, who reappears. He does that good shot to the ribs, which again really stuns him and stuff like that. He comes back into the ring. He eats a diamond cutter from Marshall for the win. After the match, Ogogo gave his mentor a wooden chair. Dustin Rhodes comes into the ring, breaks it up. He clears his former tag team partner out of the way before breaking the weapon over the head of Nick Comoroto. And Nick Comoroto's like, that didn't affect me at all. And then obviously we see officials kind of separated. I want to know your thoughts about that. I think I talked about the last time we talked about AEW. I'm not really feeling it. I know some people are. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I like it, man. It makes sense for a professional boxer to have a finisher where he punches you in the stomach and you just give up. It's not like he's going for a pin 1, 2, 3 after that. It's more like you just physically can't get up. I've seen UFC fighters and boxers not get up from getting punched in the stomach. I've seen them break ribs from that. I don't hate it. I don't know what we were expecting from Anthony Ogogo. I'm not expecting him to be out here hitting Hurricane Ranas and pile drivers.
Why not?
Because not everybody's Brock Lesnar. Not every crossover star is Brock Lesnar.
Well, here's the thing, right? If your finishing move, I guess, right, which I think it is, right, is that gut punch, they must be pushing this guy to the moon. Okay, if he's that powerful. So I just don't. Again, I feel like if you're watching a match, and that's the way to end the match. Like if you're having a 5-star match and the way it ends is a gut punch, I'm not feeling it personally. I know a lot of people are feeling this. I'm not personally. And we see also within that faction, I guess, whatever the hell they're calling themselves, the Nightmare Factory.
They're called the Factory, not the Nightmare
What does
Factory.
that mean? Oh.
They took the Nightmare out of the Factory. They took Cody out of the Factory. So now they are just the Factory and not the Nightmare Factory.
That's not a good name.
I mean, I look at it like this. I said it when this first started. You got to do a lot more to make me care about QT Marshall. I care more about the guys behind QT Marshall than QT Marshall, which kind of I've seen takes where it's like that's what they want you to do. That's what they want people to think. Like the people behind QT are stronger and better than QT is, but QT is just kind of leading them. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll go along with this, but you're gonna have to do a lot more to make me care about QT Marshall because I don't care about QT Marshall.
I just feel if you're going to have a leader, if you're going to have a faction, you need to have a very charismatic leader.
What, you're saying QT Marshall ain't charismatic?
He's the most boring person in professional wrestling.
Wait, in all of professional wrestling?
Again, I only watch WWE, AEW, Impact. Who else is more boring than him that's featured this heavily?
Braun Strowman?
At least he does big monster things. There's a train noise when he does that little thing.
He has a train noise.
QT Marshall got nothing. He has an RKO as his finisher, and they call it Diamond Cutter.
Well, it's technically not an RKO. He don't jump into it like Randy does. It's a Diamond Cutter.
Okay, but JP, do not defend QT Marshall.
I'm not defending QT Marshall. I'm just saying he don't use the RKO because he don't be jumping into it. He got the Diamond Cutter from DDP, who said he could use a Diamond Cutter.
They're the same thing, man. The jump, whatever.
The jump adds more flair to it. It's different.
Speaking of flair, I wish there was flair with QT Marshall. But moving past this, whatever. QT Marshall gets a win over Billy Gunn. What a huge win for QT Marshall over Billy Gunn, who's 57 years old. We move on.
Has he had a match on Dynamite?
Billy Gunn?
Yeah, Billy Gunn. Hold on. I'm going to check.
He's had two, man. I feel like he had a long time ago, though. Definitely hasn't been recently. That's for sure.
We're going to look it up. Let's see.
I definitely doubt it.
Okay. The last time QT Marshall wrestled on AEW Dynamite was November 4th, 2020, when the Gun Club beat Colt Cabana and the Dark Order.
Yeah, been a long time. Yeah.
Which is really shocking to think about now. The Dark Order lost to the Gun Club. Like, let's think about this, man.
Yeah, that's not the best for the Dark Order. But let's move on. We go to Christian Cage versus Powerhouse Hobbs here, and I really like this match a lot. Again, I feel like this was a really good Dynamite, especially for the in-ring work. And Christian Cage looks great. Powerhouse Hobbs has an amazing showcase here against a legend. Again, Christian gets the win at the end here, but he rubs Hobbs a lot here because, again, we see how dominant really Powerhouse Hobbs is. And again, we talk about kind of looking great in loss. That's what Hobbs did to a T. JP, thoughts on this match?
I feel like we should just give every young star from this from AEW the Jey Uso Award because they lose, but they look really good doing it. Powerhouse Hobbs, like you said, Christian Cage put him over so well in terms of making him look like a monster, and all of his moves look real damaging. It makes it look really good. And then that goes into the mantra of Christian Cage, outwork everyone, because he's going to keep working past all the stuff that Hobbs throws at him. Again, you're not expecting like a technical masterpiece, but I think it was good for what it was. And again, Powerhouse Hobbs may have lost, but he didn't lose. It's weird. It's odd to kind of say it like that. He lost, but he didn't lose.
I feel like with wrestling fans, they know exactly what you're saying. I feel like but again, I completely agree. Again, Hobbs looked great here, but again, Christian doesn't need the win. It seems like he's trying to put himself in the title picture. He made himself aware to Kenny Omega, but even he said on Dynamite, I gotta wrestle. I gotta get wins. He had a really cool match against Frankie Kazarian. Now against Hobbs. Excited to see where Christian, who he faces next. Maybe he kind of goes through. I was gonna say maybe he goes through Team Taz, but he's literally facing Brian Cage next week. So that's what's gonna happen.
Wait, Brian Cage versus Christian Cage. You know what we need to do. AEW needs to do in terms of face heel. They need to do Brian Cage and Ethan Page versus Christian Cage and Hangman Page.
I feel like that's gonna happen at some point, just because the news are just
so. It needs to. I just wish. I want either Ethan Page and Hangman Page to team up and face Brian Cage and Christian Cage, or Brian Cage and Ethan Page versus Hangman Page and Christian Cage. Just to hear JR and Excalibur say Cage locks up Page, who has Page and Cage on the side.
All right, you're making me confused now, actually. Now I'm confused. So, excuse me, correction, no. Actually, I got like you said, I got the last names mixed up. It's going to be Hangman Page versus Brian Cage next week.
See?
Not Christian Cage and Brian Cage.
We're getting the first iteration of Page versus Cage.
My brain is hurting because we're saying these things so often. It's actually hurting me. Good match though. Fine match here. Main event time, TNT Championship match. Darby Allin defending it against Jungle Boy. I love this match, man. And again, we know what Jungle Boy is made of. We've seen him kind of get the rub here. We mentioned the Jey Uso Award, and Jungle Boy is like kind of in that picture. I mean, he's been winning more, but like still,
yeah. But he's been winning on Dark though.
So
he'll be winning any matches when it matters.
Didn't he win against Bear Country? Come on, man. You've said he doesn't win matches And
that matter.
does.
He doesn't win matches that matter.
I don't care about AEW World Title matches. I care about the Godzilla versus Kong type matches, and that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, we don't care about the tag title battle royals where he's always second place.
I mean, again, look great being
He looks
second
great.
place.
He looks fantastic. And that's the thing with this TNT title match. I love what they're doing with the TNT title because it's making you care about the title. Having it in the main event every night, having it in prime time spots, it makes you care about not only the title holder, but the title itself. It's something that a lot of wrestling companies don't do, where they make all their titles feel important. Darby Allin is a really good champion because he plays the underdog kind of well, but he can also play the aggressor really well. And that's what he had to do with Jungle Boy. And this match, man, it was fun. It had the technical wrestling. It had high flying spots. He hit a coffin drop on the Jungle Boy from the apron.
Which, by the way, since the commentators tell us this every single week and every single time they can get, it's the hardest part of the ring. Did people know that?
It's the hardest part of the ring. We gotta let you know.
Did people know that?
It's the hardest part of the ring, so it's gonna hurt a lot more. But man,
by the way, I hate to butt in here. The apron is the hardest part of the ring. I just wanted to make that
thank you
clear.
Thank you for reminding me. Darby Allin is such a good champion, and he's had great matches ever since. It's going to feel like a big deal when he loses. To who? I'm kind of hoping it's going to be Ethan Page. And I say Ethan Page because they had a fantastic rivalry in Evolve a couple of years back. If I think they have those matches on YouTube, you should find them. If you haven't seen them, they're awesome. Ethan Page power bombs Darby Allin, and Darby Allin is in one of those body bags he has. He fills the body bag with thumbtacks, then power bombs Darby Allin while he's in there with the thumbtacks. He's power bombed Darby Allin. That Ego's Edge. He's done the Ego's Edge to Darby Allin off of like scaffolding into the ring. Dude, it's the way I made it sound is like Ethan Page tried to murder Darby Allin, which is exactly what happened. Like, I think one of their matches, it ended up one of their matches, like Darby Allin like broke his elbow after one of the matches. I think that Vice documentary, I forgot what it was called. They did a documentary on wrestling, not Dark Side of the Ring, but just wrestling in general. That match was featured in one of the episodes. And it was such a great rivalry. I hope they rekindle it. They've hinted at it on Twitter, and I'm like, dude, it's got to happen.
I would be able to see it too, but again, I'm pretty much echoing what JP said about this match. It was just exciting from bell to bell. Again, like you said, had a couple of those play styles in there, the technical aspect, but also just putting their bodies in the line. Again, we know Darby Allin does that, but Jungle Boy, we really see how motivated he is. I put this on Twitter too. Like, we kind of saw a cockiness from Jungle Boy in this match that we really haven't seen before, and I'm loving that from Jungle Boy as well. But then, coming to the edge here, there's a great moment where I thought that maybe Darby Allin might have lost this when he kind of got stuck in that snare trap at the end there, but Allin made to the ropes. Jungle Boy tracked him in the surfboard and then reapplied the snare trap. Darby yanked the hair and gouged the eyes to break the hold, which was, which I love those moves when the faces do like the Healy type moves because it's desperate in that situation. But Jungle Boy peppered Allin with some palm strikes. The champion trapped him in the Last Supper pin, which I mean, like, okay, the Last Supper pin, okay, for the win. It seems like every time Darby Allin wins with like a pinning predicament, it's always a different pin each time. It'll be a roll up, a schoolboy. This time it's the Last Supper.
I think it fits. It fits. It has those pinning predicaments because, like, I don't expect Darby Allin to be hitting people with power bombs. I think he's like 140 pounds soaking wet. So the pinning predicaments make sense.
And I feel like also those kind of pinning predicaments work better for the person that loses because it's not like a clear victory. Like, again, Jungle Boy by this much lost, I feel, because of a crazy pin we barely see do. After the match, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, as we just mentioned, attacked them. And Ethan Page bringing the Ego's Edge. Lance Archer makes a save, suffered a beatdown until Sting emerges. They get scared when Sting comes in the ring with a bat. The 60-year-old man, they're scared of him. So they leave the ring.
He's got a baseball bat. He's not only 60, he's 60 with a baseball bat, okay?
60 with a baseball bat. I guess you're right. But they leave, and that's how we end AEW Dynamite. Again, a good episode of AEW Dynamite, an awesome main event. Again, you see how this episode is progressing. We talked about Raw, kind of depressed on Raw, and then we get to NXT, we get to Dynamite. So we're good. Now we're moving on to Friday Night SmackDown. This happened just yesterday. An interesting show, a good show, which we'll talk about and talk about what's kind of be going on, and stuff like that. Who comes to the ring? It's Cesaro. It's Daniel Bryan. It's Cesaro at first. And again, he challenged, Roman Reigns for the Universal title. Paul Heyman, they made some really disparaging remarks to Cesaro last week, talking about Cesaro. So he kicks off the week's show, and before he could address, before he can talk on the mic, Seth Rollins comes out, and again he takes credit for Cesaro's WrestleMania moment, yada yada yada. They kept showing that kind of UFO move at WrestleMania, and then he pretty much says that Cesaro's not giving him any credit for kind of the greatest night of his life, but he says that on my worst night you're not beating me again, and then Cesaro laid down the challenge again for a rematch. Jey Uso interrupts, comes out. He's still infuriated that Cesaro thought he was worthy of a title shot against Roman Reigns. The heels work together. They're about to swarm him, but Daniel Bryan comes out. And it comes to a moment where Daniel Bryan is really putting over Cesaro, kind of saying, like, he should get the title shot. He's afraid. Roman's afraid of him. This leads to a tag team match. And I got to say, this tag team match was really good. An amazing way to start off a SmackDown in a very exciting way here. And this lasted, again, I kind of judged the length of kind of TV matches with the commercial breaks. This lasted about 2 or 3 commercial breaks. I'm like, man, more of this match?
This match actually went, according to Cage Match, 19 minutes. Which
that's long.
The next longest segment was the Intercontinental title match. That was 13 minutes.
So, I mean, they gave a lot of time to this, and I'm glad they did, because it really ended up being a really awesome match here. But what happens at the end is that Seth Rollins just leaves. He leaves Jey Uso. He says, I don't need this. I'm Seth freaking Rollins. And we just see Cesaro and Daniel Bryan. And what I found interesting about the end here, Bryan hits the running knee. He pins Uso to win. And I was thinking to myself, shouldn't you have Cesaro pin Uso here to kind of get that heat? So maybe because you're facing up against Reigns pretty soon. Daniel Bryan takes the pin here. We know why at the very end, which we'll talk about in a bit. But again, Bryan pretty much tells Cesaro to swing Jey Uso. Man, I feel bad for Jey Uso, man. We were just talking about Jey Uso, and this guy continuously gets beat up.
The Jey Uso Award always bounces around, but it always ends back up with Jey Uso. The man looks great when he loses. This match was awesome. Well, not awesome, but it was really good. It's a great opener. One of my favorite parts of the match is when Cesaro swinging Jey Uso and Daniel Bryan sitting down on the top turnbuckle, yelling at Roman to come out and save him. Like, if you're the tribal chief, you should probably help your cousin who's getting beat up out here. And while he's talking, the crowd is like alternating chants of like 1, 2, 3, while Cesaro swinging Jey Uso. It's for great wrestlers just doing what they do best. And it was really fun to see. Like you said, Daniel getting the pin was interesting, but we'll find out why in the end of the night. But you can't complain.
Okay, again, I thought it was an awesome way to start. I was very surprised again of how much time they did give that tag match, but I'm glad it was great. We move on. Tamina versus Nia Jax here. We saw Nia Jax on Twitter kind of I don't know if you saw this, JP, kind of talking about her family, talking about Tamina. I'm pretty sure it was in story. Maybe not. I don't know. But they have a match. And, I mean, nothing really long here. Actually, Tamina does defeat Nia Jax here. But I have to say the best part, Reginald is back. Yes. The person we wanted, right, JP? Okay, enough said about Reginald. But yeah, I mean, Reginald's back. I mean, I guess so. Whatever. I don't hate Reginald. I still can't forgive him for almost ruining the Bianca Belair Sasha Banks feud up until WrestleMania. But let's just talk about the match real quick. I mean, Jax is talking trash for this match. Tamina answers her by taking her opponent down for the Luthez press. But then it comes to an end where she actually rolls up Jax for the win after Shayna Baszler and Reginald actually distract her. So Tamina wins. Thoughts on the match?
You want to guess how long this match went?
I am going to guess below 4 minutes for sure.
2 minutes and 35 seconds. And I don't hate Reginald. Let me get that out the way. I don't hate Reginald. I just hate that he's in everything.
Yeah.
Like, he just butts into everything. And it's just like, okay, we don't need Reginald to get into everything because we understand what he does at this point. It puts the focus more on Reginald than we are on the actual match. You know, like when they were involved in the Bianca Belair Sasha Banks feud, we spent more time talking about Reginald than we did about Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair, or the feud they were having. This feels like the same thing is going to happen now that Reginald's back involved, because I don't know if we're going to be like involved with the Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, because we won't talk much about them because we'll be talking about Reginald. I mean, the match itself, again, it went 2 minutes and 35 seconds. I don't know what else you can really say about a match that's that short, you know? There's really not much you can say about a match that's like 2 minutes. So it is what it is. I would think they're going to have the tag title match soon because they're the only team that like consistently beats Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler. Although we did see Lana and Naomi beat them. This creates a logjam at the absolutely loaded women's tag division. And I expect for there to be a triple threat match at a pay-per-view.
Just please, for the love of God, I just want to see the Riot Squad with these titles so bad. And guess what? They weren't on SmackDown this week.
Oh.
I don't know. Whatever. We move on. Intercontinental Championship match. Who's going to face Apollo Crews? He complains to Adam Pearce. You know, why do I have to defend my title? If it's going to be a rematch against Big E, I'm not going to do it. He says, not me against Big E, it's me against Kevin Owens. Okay, cool with that. Kevin Owens is a backstage promo with Kayla Braxton, who got a nice suntan. That's all I got to say. And she was kind of talking to Kevin Owens, and who kind of interrupted was Big E. And I think he called Kevin Owens a habitual line. What do you say? A habitual line kind of like stepper in, you know, because he kind of stepped in the line. And you can see those two kind of, again, not being very friendly with each other. It came to a point where Kevin Owens says, "You're right. I stepped in line, but it's going to be me getting the shot and not you. So that's good for me." And he like slaps Biggie on the back as he's leaving. I'm like, okay, awesome to see. And then we get this match between Kevin Owens and Apollo Crews. Sami Zayn is out there in commentary. Again, I mean, Sami Zayn brilliant on commentary. It was funny. A good match here between Kevin Owens and Apollo Crews. And again, with Commander Aziz, who's there, who is Dabba-Kato. I'm not even going to pronounce his full name because it's a lot. You know, so I mean, I don't hate it. We talked about it at WrestleMania. We didn't hate that there was a person with Apollo Crews. So he's obviously out there in the ringside of the match. But again, I wanted to see Apollo Crews kind of do stuff on his own. You know, he doesn't need the help of Commander Aziz, and he showed in this match. He put up an awesome match here against Kevin Owens. But we get to the end here, where Owens and Crews kind of traded reversals before the challenger dropped his opponent with a pop-up powerbomb for 2. And then Owens dropped the champion on the ring apron, the hardest part of the ring. But a distraction by Commander Aziz allowed Crews to score the roll-up for the win, the second straight match with a roll-up, whatever. And then after the bell, Commander Aziz comes into the ring and delivers a Nigerian nail to Kevin Owens. You know, what Umaga did, that his finishing move that, you know,
yeah,
which is great. A great finishing move. And he leaves Kevin Owens lying there. You can see like he's like spitting out something. He's kind of selling the move pretty loudly. And then as the champion and commander are leaving the ring, Sami Zayn comes into the ring. He just dances over him. You know, he's doing the Sami Zayn viral dance. a long time that they stayed the camera on the, on the dancing. So
It
funny.
was kind of awkward, man, how long
It
they
was
kept it on him. But
What do you think of this match?
I thought it was good. I don't really think I feel like it was a little too much with Sami Zayn on commentary because I feel like there was too much going on. The distraction, I mean, I could do without. I feel like you could have had like Apollo Crews distract the ref and then Aziz kind of come in, hit the Nigerian nail, then leave, then have Apollo Crews get the victory. I wouldn't be mad at that. I think the roll up is kind of but I do like that Big E is immediately taking offense to Kevin Owens jumping the line. Although WWE has some real funky rules on rematches or rematch clauses, I like that he remembers, Big E remembers and calls him a habitual line jumper. And then Kevin Owens' next line after that is, "You mean because of what happened 2 years ago?" And a couple of years ago, Big E was injured while Kofi had the WWE title. So who filled in for Big E or tried to fill in for Big E? It was Kevin Owens. They called him the Big O. So Big E remembering that betrayal of his friends and the New Day by Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens also remembering that it's like, okay, it's like it's building towards something. Like there, you can see there's some offense taken by Big E, and you know there's some hostility there between him and Kevin Owens. I think there's going to be another match between Kevin Owens and Apollo Crews because, again, distraction roll up and then Aziz, there's going to be one. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a Aziz versus Kevin Owens. Not like a super long match, but, you know, one of those matches where you got to go through this guy to get to that guy. But the main takeaway is, and I forgot to say this after WrestleMania, Raw Underground won, bro. Think about it. Almost tag champion. Shayna Baszler, women's tag champion. She was on Raw Underground. Eric's back with Ivar. Commander Aziz was a monster. He was a beast on Raw Underground. The only person who's really been losing, I mean, Swerve Scott was in there. Swerve's doing great on NXT. The one person that really lost is Shane McMahon.
Good.
That's good. So what I'm going to say is Raw Underground won. It won the ratings war. That's who really won the ratings war. Raw Underground.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree. Listen, and also next week they announce it's gonna be Big E versus Apollo Crews, for the Intercontinental title match. Hoping this one ends clean. Probably not. That match is cursed. It seems like there's always gonna be something with it. Excited to see it though. They should be good together. We move on. Who do we get the return of, JP? Finally, Aleister Black back on WWE television. He cuts a very eerie, a very awesome sort of thing where he's telling the story of his young self. I guess his new gimmick now is that, he's like the Dark Father. Hell yeah, okay. And again, it's like this nice little kind of book animation thing that he's reading off of. And again, it seems like he is a heel. He was kind of making fun of the viewers in this as well. I'm totally excited for this. Just get Aleister Black in the ring already. I need to see a black mass on television. It's been a long time. But I'm glad with it. Anything that he's doing, it looks awesome with the big glasses. I thought that was really funny. I'm in, man. What do you think, JP?
I'm all in on this. One of the reasons how I got back into wrestling is just randomly looking up YouTube videos, and Aleister Black's moves came up on there, and I'm like, oh, this dude looks awesome. So I've been an Aleister Black fan ever since. The Dark Father is a really cool nickname. I think you can do so much with this character, especially kind of an ominous heel. They don't really have that on SmackDown. Roman Reigns isn't very ominous. He's just like, he's Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Aleister Black leans a little into the supernatural, but not too much. Like, it's not the Fiend supernatural, but it's not like he's just some dude in the back in the dark room. Like, it makes you question whether he's supernatural or not, which is really good. I can't wait to see where this goes because I'm glad he's back on TV. All you gotta do is just bring back the Root of All Evil theme song, and you're golden.
Please. Absolutely. What I will say with Aleister Black is don't die on a story, man. Just keep it going. I remember the last time he was on WWE television, he had an eye patch. The last time we saw him, he was drafted in the WWE draft. I mean, I think he had a match against Kevin Owens, and that was just kind of it. So keep going with this, man. I'm digging this. You know, maybe we'll see another one of these promos next week before we actually get him in the ring. But I don't mind, man. Listen, push this guy. We know he deserves it. Honestly, surprised that he wasn't released. I got to be real. I thought, because again, he had the whole thing with Selena Vega. Obviously, he's in a relationship with her, a significant relationship. And the thing that happened with her, and then I'm just surprised that he's honestly back on television, to be honest, but I'm glad he is. Again, I'm hoping they use him a lot here because I think he can add so much to SmackDown. So after that, we do get Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode, the SmackDown Tag Champions. The Street Profits interrupt their backstage interview, but who interrupts them? It's Bayley. Bayley is going to face Bianca Belair at WrestleMania Backlash for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Sign me up, I'm in. And she pretty much kind of like, shit talks Bianca Belair, saying that she's ungrateful, she's rude, she should be on the top of the women's division. And who comes in is Montez Ford, and he has Bianca Belair on the phone, and he pretty much just tells Bianca like, yeah, she's talking shit about you, and Bianca Belair is just kind of like, oh, I'm coming there now. Go to commercial, we come back, Bianca Belair is there with Bayley. And Bayley's like, I just want to congratulate you on your historic match with Sasha at WrestleMania. I'm going to be honored to be your first opponent, in your title reign. And then Bayley leaves, and then Killer Braxton's still there, and Bianca Belair's like, oh, I'm surprised she acted like that. And then Bayley comes back and just laughs her ass off on camera, and Bianca Belair's like looking at her, and she leaves. JP, thoughts on this match at WrestleMania Backlash? Are you excited for it? Or are you not excited for it?
Bayley be in her bag as a heel, man. I'm enjoying it so much. She's real obnoxious. I'm excited for this match because, again, this was one of the first matches Bianca Belair had when she first got to SmackDown, and I'm excited. It's going to be a great match. It's the perfect person to have a match with when you first win at WrestleMania. Like, we know Bayley's not going to win. I feel like a good majority of us know Bayley's not going to win that title, but she's a great first opponent to have because she's going to have a good match.
I absolutely agree. Again, there's pretty much nobody better I would pick for her first opponent than Bayley. She's at the top of that division. Longest SmackDown champion ever for the women's side. So I think it's a big, great match. I think it might steal the show. Again, we don't know a lot of the matches there. We have Drew and Bobby in this one, and that's about it.
Well, last time we said a Bianca Belair match would steal the show, it did. So
it did. I'm
good with pressing our luck on that.
I definitely agree. Listen, Bayley, we know what Bayley can do in the ring. There's no reason why this could not be match of the night, or even I definitely think it'll be their best match together. I think because again they had that SmackDown match, pretty damn good. But I think for the title, will be better. Move on. Kind of the main event match, not really the main event segment, but the main event match. The Mysterios versus the Alpha Academy, and Dominic gets absolutely beat up here throughout the most of this match. But Ray comes in, gets the hot tag. And it ends with him doing the 619 Chad Gable, Frog Splash. They're pretty much have their sights set on the tag team championship. Again, I've been saying I would love for them, the father son duo, to be tag team champions. But again, we've seen this match before. Not great. It was fine. Which, by the way, I don't think we talked about it since it happened. But Pat McAfee, he's a new color commentator with Michael Cole. I've been digging his stuff, and he was like standing up this entire match. Don't know why, but he was. JP, thoughts on the match, and maybe brief thoughts on Pat McAfee.
I feel like I gotta echo what you say here. It was a good match, but I'm tired of seeing the Mysterios in the Alpha Academy fight. Like, it's been a variation of those four guys in a match since maybe like January, maybe even before that. And I'm just like, okay, man, I'm tired of this. Like, I'm not saying it because like they're bad wrestlers. I'm saying like we've seen these before. Either you're gonna give the Mysterios a tag title shot, or this feels like it's all for naught. Like it feels like the matches don't have stakes to them. So I feel like it's a good match, but you have to give the Mysterio something at this point. But the question is, do they leapfrog over the Street Profits? Do you have a number one contenders match with the Street Profits for the titles? I wouldn't mind seeing that. It'd be kind of, I wouldn't say it's a first time, but they haven't fought a lot. They fought together, but they haven't fought against each other. I wouldn't mind it. As far as Pat McAfee goes, I like it. I like all the new commentators they've added for Raw and SmackDown because it provides just a different voice. Like sometimes it gets kind of boring, and I'm excited to hear Pat McAfee because he brings something different. You know, it's not always Corey Graves drooling about Carmella, which again, I get. I 100% understand, bro. But it's just a different voice, a different flavor, you know.
Completely agree. Yeah, and obviously the jury is still out on Adnan Virk, who's a new play-by-play guy for Raw. So, but both are doing a pretty good job. I don't mind them. So we move on to the main event segment, which I mean we see the Mysterios leave, and who comes out? Cesaro and Daniel Bryan. They actually fist bump the winners here. They come to the ring, and Cesaro says, "All right, we're waiting a decision for Roman Reigns. You know, if you have to come out here and give us a decision, or we'll come to your back. We'll come to the back, and we'll get a decision for you." We see Roman Reigns and company come out here, and he goes into the ring and pretty much tells Cesaro, like, you know, it's always going to be a no for you, man. You're just not on my level. You're not on my level at all. It's always going to be a no for you. And then he looks to Daniel Bryan, and he says, but Daniel, and Roman Reigns says, I've heard the title shots around here, whatever. And he says, but I've never liked you. You know, I've never liked you since day one. So I'm going to give you one last shot at the Universal title. However, if you lose, and then he says, well, when you lose, I don't want to see your face around SmackDown anymore. I want you to disappear. Never in my sights again. And Cesaro tells Daniel Bryan, he says, you have to accept that. Absolutely. And Daniel Bryan gets a mic, goes up to his face, Roman Reigns' face, and says, I accept. And that's the end of the segment. So, JP, before we end off this show and end off, you know, this pod, what do you think, man? Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns next week for the title.
I enjoy when matches have stakes like this because it creates more intensity for the challenger. Daniel Bryan is so good when his back is against the wall. That's peak Daniel Bryan when he's a little crazy. He's a little bit like Edge, which, you know, it's fitting. But there's no chance he wins. Like, there's a -% chance he wins. And I hope they do him right on Raw. But, you know, it started to dawn on me when he said that you never see him on SmackDown again. You'll never see him on SmackDown again. What if this means we never see him wrestle again? Because he's always been hinting at this is his last run. This is what he's got left. I don't believe it, but it could happen. But again, we were talking about the NXT division needing some juice for one moment. I wouldn't hate that. But the thing with Cesaro, I think it resonated with me so much because it reminded me of the B+ player promo. When Stephanie and Triple H were talking to Daniel Bryan, he told him he was a B+ player. He'd never get that shot. This felt like the same kind of promo, which again is fitting because Daniel Bryan was in there with him, gassing him up because he's been there before. So I feel like eventually we're going to get Cesaro versus Roman Reigns, and it's going to be fire. But I really enjoyed this. I enjoy Roman Reigns' work as a heel. Him calling the shots is perfect, especially because it looks like Adam Pearce fears him. He fears Roman Reigns more than anybody else on Raw, which is why he makes more decisions on Raw than he does on SmackDown. I saw a lot of people kind of like, well, why didn't Adam Pearce make decisions on SmackDown? I'm like, dude, they don't got a Roman Reigns on Raw. There's a lot easier to make decisions over there. And so I'm all for whatever's going to happen, except if this is it for Daniel Bryan, which I reply, please, God, no.
I doubt it is. I feel like if they said because again, I also watch Talking Smack, which Talking Smack is a must watch every week. I love Talking Smack. Um, Caleb Braxton said that he'll be banished from SmackDown. I just feel that is a way of saying that he's gonna be on WWE television. It's just not gonna be Friday nights. However, this is what I will say about this match. There's no way Daniel Bryan is winning this.
Yeah.
However, I want him to win, obviously, because it's Daniel Bryan. But I just don't. I just don't think he's gonna win. Also, I think it's gonna be. I really hope they give a lot of time to this. I really hope that Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns put on their best match ever with those two on television on SmackDown.
Free television.
On free television. Again, you want to bring in some people for ratings. This is the way you do it. And again, I really hope it's their best match. And I hope that finally for SmackDown, I don't think they do this for SmackDown, the whole picture-in-picture thing that AEW and NXT does, do it for that match. You have to.
I would do commercial-free. Give them the last 30 minutes commercial-free. But what I will say is Drew McIntyre versus Daniel Bryan is going to slap on Monday Night Raw.
That's very true. That's very true. And again, I just that's the thing, right? I definitely don't think that this is the end for Daniel Bryan as a whole. It's definitely not. Again, if they would have said you're gone from WWE, that's the stipulation, then obviously that's something to be scared about. But I definitely think that when he loses, I think he's going to lose.
Yeah, it had to be kind of a Mick Foley kind of thing where like you're gone from WWE, you cannot wrestle anymore.
Right. Sort of thing. But also we were talking about how Pete Dunne says he's the best technical wrestler in the world. Before you make your way to Raw, do a pit stop on NXT, have a banger match with Pete Dunne. I wouldn't mind.
Hey, Walter.
Yeah, listen.
Finn Balor.
Again, this is what I'm saying, man, is that I'm sad to see him go from SmackDown, but I mean, again, we're still gonna see Daniel Bryan. It's not like it's not like he's gonna die. We're not sending him down the river yet. But it's gonna be great. Again, I'm just excited for next week. And again, another reason why it's like, how is NXT and SmackDown and Raw under the same branch?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so crazy because, again, Raw needs Daniel Bryan more than SmackDown needs Daniel Bryan.
Yeah,
because
absolutely,
SmackDown is stacked when it comes to, you got Roman, Seth Rollins, Cesaro, Jey Uso, Big E, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Apollo Crews.
Yeah.
Edge roaming around somewhere, maybe.
Yeah.
Outside of Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre, who are viable contenders for the WWE title? Matt Riddle?
Braun Strowman, and that's a problem. So, yes, Daniel Bryan, honestly, yeah, he needs to go to Raw.
Give Alexa Bliss, give Alexa Bliss the WWE title.
Sure. Can I be honest with you? I would love to see that. Excuse me. Give Lily the WWE.
Oh nah.
Push Lily to the moon.
I wouldn't watch. Lily with the WWE title would jump scare me to death.
Yeah, that would be bad. But that's gonna do it for us at Yell in a Cell. I can win over Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW Dynamite. We're gonna do this every week. We have more episodes and more ideas for episodes in the works right now. So stay tuned for us. You can follow us on Twitter at EL_cell. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Zach Weinberger, Zach with an H, WEINBERGER. We both write for University Press at upressonline, upressonline.com. And freelance writer for the Jewish Forward, doing an interview next week with Danny Valencia, former MLB baseball player, going to be on Team Israel, Israeli American. Look out for that. Should be a great one. Other stories, obviously, in the works there. JP's Twitter. Wait, hold on. This is going to be tough for me because I think I forgot it. Acosta 32_JP.
There it is. That's correct. It is Acosta 32_JP. Like I said, I'm the business manager at the University Press. I write, do podcasts there. I'm not to gas myself up a little bit, but I do win awards sometimes for what I write. So I think I'm pretty good at it. So I also write for Big Cat Country, SB Nation affiliate for the Jacksonville Jaguars. NFL drafts coming up. We know who they're picking number one. If you don't know, then you're probably living under a rock.
Zach Wilson.
Relax. But I also started this new publication with a few of my friends, Pancaked podcast. We talk about the offensive line, the NFL. Follow it at Pancake Pod. We release episodes every Friday. It's really cool. Something I've been looking forward to. Other than that, just see where I'm going, see what I'm writing, see what I'm talking about. And again, John Cena follows me on Twitter. So shout out to John if you listen.
Happy birthday. It was his birthday.
Happy birthday. Actually. Belated birthday.
One of the all-time greats for sure. Also do a pod with Jacob Brown, Nerd Pod. We just got the finale of Captain America. Yeah, technically Captain America and the Winter Soldier. But it was called the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, obviously. So check us out. We're gonna be talking about the finale. We're gonna talk about other stuff. How Warner Brothers is incompetent with DC movies. It's gonna be a great time. Can't wait to talk about it.
Also, gotta talk about the best show on TV. It's Invincible.
Invincible, right? I missed the past 2 episodes. I got to catch up, man. I've heard some great things. But that's gonna do it for us. Again, stay tuned. We have a lot in store. Have a good day.